order. Mr. Reverend Hogue is here tonight to give our invocation.
Oh, is that my cue?
Yes, sir. I was like, I know I saw him.
So wake him up and he'll come over. That's right. Well, we've got some new members. We've got a new county administrator. So this is a great start for a new year. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
And let's have a word of prayer. We come tonight to the first meeting of this new year, where we find new members and a new administrator. We have much to be thankful for as these men and women assume their responsibilities for the county of Nottoway. We're grateful for their service, their sacrifice, and their selection. For their service, for we know that they will serve this county with distinction. For their sacrifice, for we know that each will sacrifice personal time with family and friends in order to represent their constituents. And for their selection, as they have been duly elected and appointed through a democratic process that has been the hallmark of this nation since its founding. Heavenly Father, we ask that you would bless each one as they serve, that you protect each one as they sacrifice, and that you would grant each one wisdom that comes only from you, so that the affairs of this county may be honorably and diligently dispersed. And we ask all this in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Hogue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we can give a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for that. Thank you again, Reverend Hogue. All right, board members, I need a motion to approve the agenda, but there is two changes. First, under presentations, under F, we need to add number 2 for CTA, for them to do a presentation on the radio tower. And then under new business J, we would add 8. It's a committee appointment. The committee would be an ordinance committee. And again, that would be under J8 for new business. Was there anything else that needed to be addressed to the agenda before we approve it? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved. I need approval of the minutes.
You looking for a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the minute.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The minutes are approved. Next, we're going to have delegations from the public. Let's see here. Mr. Sonny Abbott.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
members of the board, Mr. Bowen, and fellow citizens, I stand before you tonight as the newly elected board chair of the school board. Our board has several new members similar to this board, and we want to thank you, each of you, for changing the dates of your work sessions. Generally speaking, you held work sessions on Thursday. And now, there is a greater chance that the second Thursday will be open, since moving those meetings to Tuesday. That specific change will allow the availability of the second Thursday, and guess what? Our board meets on the second Thursday, and we would like to extend our welcome to each and every one of you to attend a school board meeting. Gaining an improved understanding of each board can lead to improvements on many levels. So please join us on the second Thursday at 7 p.m. in the mini auditorium at the high school. We look forward to seeing you there. Now, I ask you to bear with me for just a moment and close your eyes for just a second and open them again. Now, you seen the same fella standing here, right?
Yes, sir.
When I stand before this board and tell you that I'm speaking for the school board, is because I have their permission. And that is the only time you will hear me say that I'm speaking for the school board, is when I have their permission. But please recognize that it won't stop me from coming to this meeting and speaking as a citizen of this great county. I'd like you to be able to separate the two, as we on occasion need to separate the fact that you're board members and you may attend a meeting and not be speaking for your board. Hopefully we'll be able to make that understanding for not only me, but for the other board members, of whom I'm happy to say there are two of them here tonight, along with our superintendent, assistant superintendent, and our finance director, all in this room this evening. I thank you again. As chair of the board, please come to one of our meetings and learn a little bit more about us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott, and congratulations, and it's good to see the school board here, and we know that we see y'all quite often here, and it's much appreciated. And yes, I too am glad to see that second Thursday is open, because I think we clearly need to support each other as much as we can moving forward. And as you said, and I'm glad you said it, Sonny, this great county of Nottoway. Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Abbott or anything? All right, moving on, Ms. Susan Yates.
Happy New Year, all. How are you all tonight? Was Santa good to everyone? I know he went to your house, Mr. Bowen. He's filled your stocking with $155,000 a year.
You can reclaim your time.
And-
You can reclaim your time, Ms. Yates. The board has adopted a rule of procedures that asks the public to speak directly to the chair and the chair only, and that was approved unanimously by this board. We ask if you speak to someone's name, you speak to their name, but not directly to them. Please direct your comments to the chair.
Oh, I gotcha. And Chairman Rourke, I don't want to miss this unique occasion to personally thank you for all you've done for Nottoway County over the past 4 years. I remember well how you ran in your first race on transparency. Thank you. In mid-September last year, the previous board ran an ad for a new county administrator. Let me summarize what you were looking for in the position. You were looking for someone with high-level technical and professional skills directing and supervising the administration of local government. Education and experience were the expected qualifications for successful performance. The board wanted a bachelor's or a master's degree. They asked for comprehensive knowledge of principles, managing work departments, providing leadership, providing professional advice, looking over budgets and cost control, monitoring revenues and expenditures, preparing and submitting an annual county budget, advising and keeping the board abreast of financial conditions, and much more. There is a clause in Bowen's contract regarding criminal actions. One clause specifically states, termination by the county for cause would include intentional and willful misconduct that may subject the board, including the county, to criminal civil liability and willful disregard of county policies and procedures. Is it not a fact that Mr. Bowen stepped down from his board position because he served on the board for 15 and a half years illegally? I've heard that a criminal investigation was completed and no criminal charges were brought, but that does not avoid the possibility of civil charges coming down or civil lawsuits. He has claimed that he did not know he lived in Prince Edward County. How can this be, in that he signed a document that showed he was in Prince Edward County? Further, it was he that sought to subdivide the land that is in question. How could he not have known where he lived? We should all know that criminal actions that were not taken to fruition are different than civil actions. I am currently investigating if his illegal actions of sitting on the board can or may nullify any action that he was privy to vote on. And now all of you new members on the board, with the exception of Daphne Norton. You who did the right thing, voted to hire this liability. Shame on each one of you that participated in this. I understand that a computer program matrix was used to score the resumes. Is this true? If so, I would think that it is a way it's scored application with keywords. That's what I would think. Was Steve Bowen given the keywords so that his application would score higher? How long coming has the hiring of Steve Bowen been going on? Was Steve Bowen asked to submit an application, or did he just turn one in? Were any other interviews done with any other applicants? How did Steve Bowen have an in-person interview? Why are you unwilling to share the other applicants' applications, even if they are heavily redacted, so that no citizen would be able to identify any of the applicants? The law does not say that it is illegal to release this information. It says you don't have to. Further, why did you sneak Steve Bowen in and out of a back door the night he signed his contract? Why are you not proud of your decision? In fact, John, I would think that you, of all people, being that you boasted and ran on transparency, that you would have found a better way. In closing, I ask the following questions. Would you, John Rourke, be willing to take a polygraph test to assure the citizens that you've been truthful in the hiring of Steve Bowen? Would you, and it's for him, would you have Steve Bowen be willing to take a polygraph test surrounding the truth about him sitting on the board for 15 and a half years illegally? Why was Steve Bowen given an interim position before his actual hiring? Did Steve Bowen know that he lived in Prince Edward County? How long has he known? It should have been forever, for 15 and a half years. Is he, Steve Bowen, willing to give the citizens of Nottoway an apology for stealing away in the night in total silence after he was confronted with where he lived? And lastly, would he or John Rourke be willing to take that polygraph test to prove that you're answering questions regarding this slimy arrangement truthfully? Arrangements can be made and paid for at no cost to the County of Nottoway. In closing, why would anybody want to hire a man that does not even know where he lives? Thank you.
Slugger Morissette.
I'm sure some of you folks know that my son owns Rock River Homes. These lots not being approved properly can really cause a problem. So, and I wonder if it could be bank fraud, the way it all comes together. On November the 20th, 2008, the Nottoway Board of Supervisors passed Ordinance Section 2-102 that said the agent shall exercise authority to review, approve, and disapprove the final plats for the subdivision of land within the unincorporated areas of Nottoway County. The agent shall also submit the final subdivision plat to the Board of Supervisors for their approval before a plat can be recorded. Now, what does that mean? However, the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors has not approved any subdivision plats. Therefore, the subdivision plats that have been recorded for the last 16 years are illegal. Banks have made federally insured loans on these illegal subdivisions. Is this not a problem? If it's not a problem, then why is Wells Fargo in the middle of my court case? Therefore, the Board of Supervisors should notify the banks and the banks should notify the bank examiners, because this could be a problem that needs to be investigated. Realtors should be notified because they are required to disclose any problems to the buyers. Also, builders and attorneys. The Board of Supervisors should notify the administration to stop issuing zoning and building permits on these subdivision lots. This could make Steve Bowen a hero, though, because he made the motion to pass these ordinances while in the commission of a felony. Therefore, if the county proves his corruption, it may do away with the ordinances and solve the whole problem. In the meantime, this board should stop allowing these illegal subdivisions from going to record and start approving subdivision as required. Could this be bank fraud? If you want to know whether your lot is illegal or not, look at your subdivision plat and see if the Nottoway Board of Supervisors signed it. If it has not been signed, it's illegal. On September the 12th, 2013, the Virginia Supreme Court ruled that it is not illegal to sell and transfer titles on subdivision lots that have not been approved. However, it is illegal to build on lots that have not been approved. Yet Nottoway has been issuing zoning and building permits allowing these illegal lots to be built on. The question is, did they know banks would be making loans on homes built on illegal lots? The problem with this is one that once homeowners find out that they can't sell these lots. If it's disclosed by a realtor that the lot is illegal, do you think they're going to buy the home? No. So, and what they may do is just walk out and leave the whole thing. My question is, why did Nottoway come after me when there were hundreds of subdivisions that are illegal? I believe the reason my wife and I are being prosecuted and persecuted is because 15 months ago, during the public comment period, I told the Board of Supervisors that because of notice failure, the county's zoning and subdivision ordinances were illegal. I also gave them a copy of the law that proves it. Therefore, in an attempt to stop my free speech, this Board of Supervisors conspired to prosecute me and my wife, and not giving because of not getting subdivision approval. Same thing the county's doing right now, in other words. Now, after we have spent $50,000, and I can prove it, the board members are afraid to follow through and vacate these lots because they don't have immunity when it's intentional or willful misconduct or gross negligence. And then I give you the code section so you look it up and prove to yourself that you're not immune, you don't have sovereign immunity if it's willful misconduct. How could it not be after I just read you your own ordinance? So folks, I'm gonna tell you, if you wanna know who I am, I've heard something about I'm rich and I'm this big developer. Well, I can tell you one thing, I am not. They've got me confused with my son. But my son is honest. Go anywhere he wants. He's built 3 different building inspectors' homes or their children's homes. He builds a home beyond any, when real estate agents advertise it in the paper, they'll say, this is a Rock River home. That's the honesty that I instilled in him because I have it. That's the kind of man that I am. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, presentations, Nottoway Work Center.
Mr. Chairman, she canceled at the very end. I should have let you know about it, and Andrew had let me know. So, but we'll reschedule that. Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to the presentation that was added from CTA for the water tower. I mean the radio tower. I got water on the brain for some reason.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, welcome new members. Happy 2024. We're real glad to have you. Looking forward to working with all of you new members as well as the ones that have been here, and Mr. Bowen, to get a chance to work with you again. Tonight, I'm going to open with just a couple comments, and then I'll introduce our presenter tonight. I know this was an addition to the agenda, and I'll tell everybody why. We were still in the negotiation phase up through when the board packets were made last Thursday. So we were back and forth, and she's still negotiating with the JVC Kenwood, which we let you know about last month, is the vendor of the intent to award, as we signed back in November. And then in December, we gave you a PowerPoint, because I think at the November meeting that we had with the old board, for lack of a better word, the former board, we were able to give you a little rundown on what was about the system, a little bit of detail about the system. But in that meeting, Ms. Shackleton and some others said that, we need a little more information. We need to know what we're spending our millions of dollars on. Well, we agree. And so we went back and we made this PowerPoint, and we gave that to you in December, or gave it to the board in December. And now we have fast forwarded to during the negotiation phase, which was over the holidays. We lost a little ground during the holidays, but last Thursday we were not ready to give you what we're giving you tonight. So tonight we inserted this in. Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Thank you, Mr. Rourke. for going ahead and putting this in the presentation section. What I want to do before CTA comes up, we've been at this for 1.5 years now, just so everybody knows in the public and for the new members. That's when we started the talks with the needs assessment with CTA Incorporated LLC. CTA was brought to us through the cooperative purchasing agreement in Virginia. Lunenburg was using them, and we were able to go under the Virginia Cooperative Purchasing Agreement so that we didn't have to bid out the process. All this is done legal means under the Virginia Code. That said, since we have started using CTA, Amelia is using them, and Prince Edward just jumped on board and is using them for services. So they're not new to this process, and they certainly have a real presence in Southside Virginia right now. And they may pick up more, after us and after the ones I just mentioned. Without any further ado, I do want everyone in the public and you to know, and some of you may already know this, that our committee of 11 people, we're really proud of them. And I want to introduce them right now. Some are here, some are virtual tonight, some couldn't make it. But I'll start off. It's Sheriff Jones and myself. We're the co-leads on this project, and we continue to do so as we go through to implementation. In addition to Sheriff Jones and I, we have Tiana Towns, who works for the 911 Center. She is our Emergency Communications Director that works under Sheriff Jones. We also have the former Emergency Communications Center Director, which is Lauren Brown. She stayed on the committee and has been valuable to us. Joey Schnepp, and the ones that are here, if you'll stand up when I call your name. Joey Schnepp, Crew Fire Chief. Jimmy Falwell, Blackstone Volunteer Fire Department Life Member and former officer. John Shute, Burkeville Fire Chief. Brandon Jenkins, Nottoway EMS Executive Board and Interim Director. Sam Murphy, Blackstone Fire Chief. Excuse me, that's Dion. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dion, if you're virtually. Sam Murphy, Blackstone Police Chief and new Police Chief. And one thing about Sam, thank you there, he was on our committee even before he became Police Chief. So Nick had tapped him to be on the committee, so we just kept going. Phil Morgan, Crew Police Chief, and Jake Herlong, Burkeville Police Chief. So you can see those 11 members, it's probably 200 years of radio use right here in this group. 200 years total, all of us, and most of us have been in it over 20 and 30 years. So we're pushed to talk people, but we also had participating members that weren't committee, and that's Dion Toman, I'll get this right, Blackstone Fire Chief, E.B. Fisher, Nottoway EMS Captain, and we also had County Administrator and Finance Director, and those positions have changed, but that position by default is sitting on the committee as we move forward, especially when we get ready to do the financing and all that. The county administrator and the finance director are vital components. Without any further ado with the committee and a little bit of overview about us, I want to say, though, I had the honor 18 years ago to go to the Virginia State Police State Police Academy. I said fire again. And it was to roll out the new STARS project. I think it was around 2005. And I was invited. I was a state employee at the time, and I went over, and a phenomenal rollout, probably $300-some million project. But it was a statewide project, but here's the key. They went to digital. They went from analog to digital. That's what we're doing. Now, we're doing a different system, but that was 20 years ago, and digital was the thing. The thing that sold everyone on this and was really phenomenal is they turned on the loudspeakers in the State Police Academy, and they played an audio of a trooper at the New Kent Rest Area. If you've been down 64, New Kent Rest Area is right there, that nice colonial Williamsburg style. There was a subject in a sleeping bag that was sleeping on the sidewalk at the New Kent Rest Area, and when state police called the trooper to go check on it, he did, solo, by thinking nothing to it, arrived on scene, and the gentleman in the sleeping bag started popping shots with an automatic handgun through the sleeping bag into him and at him, and he immediately got on the radio and said, officer in trouble, Mayday, whatever he said. He just put it out, and it was broken. It was broken, and they couldn't hear it. So the state police played that all through their process to show, and then they went down to New Kent after the system was put in place, and the digital radio system was tested from the very same place the trooper was shot. And he lived, by the way. But it was tested from the same place. Clarity was unbelievable. We have also have some audio clips of Nottoway County, and we can always give those to you. We have a lot of digital audio, analog audio clips where it's broken, but we also have some digital clips which we played for the board in November at the session that we had with them. So I say that because these are things that could mean, help coming to you in a life-threatening situation. Us firefighters, we crawl down hallways. We carry our radio right here in a pocket. We carry the microphone clipped on our lapel. When we're crawling down smoky hallways, all of these things, even going in a Walmart or going into a building like Mimo's, can have in-building coverage. So we're covering all these things. And all these things will be covered by CTA in this project. And I would like to introduce at this time Ms. Cheryl Jiggets, and she also has Jeremiah Knowles, who is the engineer for her. They've been with the team and on our committee since the beginning. Cheryl?
Well, thank you so much, and Happy New Year. Thank you
Happy
so
New
much,
Year.
Chairman Rourke, for allowing us to be here, and Supervisors. I am Cheryl Jiggets with CTA Consultants, and I'm really grateful. It's been wonderful working with your team, this 11-member committee that we've had the opportunity to work with for the last 2 years. And I will say, by far, they're probably one of the most invested committees we've ever worked with. Oftentimes, these projects get so technical and mounds of paperwork that you have to read through and try to understand. And committee members can lose a little bit of interest, but all of these members have really stayed active and participated in everything that we needed them to do. So we're very grateful for that. Thank you for such a wonderful committee. And that's what makes Nottoway such a great county, yes? What I'm going to do is walk you through where we've been, some of the things that we've done over the last couple of years, and some of our accomplishments. I'm going to start not with the needs assessment, because we already showed you that, right? About a year ago, we came and explained what we found and why we needed to move forward with a new system design. What I'll focus on is the RFP and then the evaluation of that RFP. Actually, we received three proposals from that RFP. And we'll talk you through the results and our recommendations, and then the results of the negotiations that we've been doing over the last 2 months. So some of those accomplishments are, we released an RFP in February of 2023, and we had a pre-proposal conference, and we had all of our vendor community go out and see all of your sites, which is really important. The more they know about your system or your potential sites, the better pricing we can receive, because what we don't want to do is once you approve this contract, we don't want to come back and say, we need more money. We want to make sure that we've really considered everything. So that's an important part of our process. We then put out some addendums. Sometimes things need to change in your RFP. Our vendors have questions, so we want to make sure we answer all of those questions. So that was done in that March-April timeframe. And then we received proposals on May 31st of 23, and we did receive 3, one from JVC Kenwood, one from L3 Harris Technologies, and one from Motorola Solutions. So, got these proposals, and they were quite voluminous. Boxes and boxes came in with all the copies of these proposals. So we immediately dug in and started doing our review of all of the technical proposals. And we do the technical proposals first to make sure that we truly understand what's being received technically, and then we open price later. We don't want to confuse the two. We want to make sure that we have a full understanding before we look at dollars. So we did that initial review. We asked a lot of questions. They came back with answers. Then we did oral presentations, which was critically important. We invited all 3 proposers in, and again, that 11-member committee was there, and a very vital part of that. Got to ask a lot of questions. Each of our vendors brought in a lot of their equipment, so they got to see it, touch it, see how it operates. So it really helped kind of explain and see in real life what they had been reading for the last couple of months. Then we asked a few more clarification questions, and then we sat with the committee and went over our results of the technical review. Once that was complete, we then moved on to our price proposals. We did a very detailed review of that. It was, I will tell you, hundreds and hundreds of lines of pricing. We like to be very detailed because that protects us up front, knowing exactly what we're getting, but it also protects you after you contract with the vendor, because we have set pricing, and that pricing cannot change. So we asked a lot of questions, really, back and forth on their pricing, and received those. And then we did another scoring with our review committee in the October timeframe. And then now that we had our technical and our price scoring, we brought the committee together, reviewed all of that with them, and developed really a draft report, a draft evaluation report. So now what I'm going to share with you is the results of that review, both price and technical. A little bit hard to see, I know, because it's small there, but I will say that we have copies of this presentation, so anyone that would like one after the meeting is more than welcome to take that home with them. We have two areas that we look at. One is price, and there's 30 points allowed for price and 70 for technical. So once the price was evaluated, JVC Kenwood had 28.81 points, Harris had 23.67, and Motorola 23.4. We went through the technical. Technical really has a lot of subcategories under there, as you will see. Some of them are actually how well did they comply with the RFP, because if we put a requirement in there, clearly it was important to your review committee. So whether or not they took exceptions had a play in that. Also, whether or not they gave us the coverage that we asked for. We required 95% portable on-the-street coverage throughout the entirety of your service area. That's your whole county. And then we also have a piece of the county through the middle, going from east to west, where we required light building. So that's when your people, that's really where you have your heavy concentrations of building here in the county. We want to make sure when that officer or that emergency person or the fire personnel takes that radio and goes into a building, they'll still be able to communicate with your dispatch. And all of our vendor community did agree to the 95% coverage on both of those particular requirements. We also looked at references. We wanted to make sure we checked out the project manager, the lead engineer, and the service shop, because it's not just putting in a system, right? These systems are very complex, and they need to be maintained. And we expect the system to last for you 15 years plus. So we did look for companies that can maintain the system for a period of 15 years.
May I interject right there?
Certainly.
The warranty and maintenance.
Yes.
I was doing some research, and is there a warranty and maintenance service organization with this type of experience in Virginia?
Yes.
Okay. Where would where are they located?
Well, we have a number, and actually JVC Kenwood was, as you can see, they're here with us tonight, as a matter of fact. We have our Vice President of JVC Kenwood, Josh Billis. He did offer us a maintenance shop. It is very close by. Would you like to speak to that, Josh?
Good evening.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks.
Honorable Chair, Board, welcome to the new year and your new roles. We have multiple service centers in the state of Virginia. We've got in the project Atlantic Communications, which is out in Newport News. And we've also got Radio Express up in Springfield, I believe, that can respond down here. They also have a shop in Winchester servicing Frederick County as we build a large system up in Frederick County. And we have an engineer, a corporate engineer over in Lynchburg, Kyle Alexander, who's in the audience right here. And we have P25 Solutions in Lynchburg as well, which is our manufacturer's rep and service support as the next tier to support your system for the next 15, 20 years.
Okay. Thank you, because I hadn't seen anything anywhere as far as where they were located at, how far we may need to wait
Right.
for a response or something like that.
Right, I thought it was a good opportunity, number one, for you to meet Josh, because he did come here just to meet you and share any information that you might have. And oftentimes, you know, a major corporation will propose on a project, and they'll have local shops. And that's really what we are looking for, right? Because in our RFP, they have a 2-hour response time. They have to be able to access your system and figure out if something is going wrong and what's going on. And they have to be here within 4 hours. So it's not like they can fly somebody in to maintain your system. They have to have people in your general vicinity so that they can be here within that 2 to 4 hour time constraint that they are contractually obligated to do. Okay. Schedule was the last piece on technical. All said and done in technical for the 70 points. JVC Kenwood had 66.09, L3 Harris 62.05, and Motorola 62.06. So when we're all done with that first 100 points, which we consider our base points, we have Kenwood at 94.9. L3 Harris at 85.72, and Motorola at 85.46. So that's our base, and we have Kenwood really in a clear lead here. We do have 2 other categories that the evaluation team, per the RFP, at their sole discretion, could choose to exercise. One was that orals presentation that I mentioned earlier, which they did choose to exercise, and we have scoring there. All of our vendors really scored pretty comparably in the orals presentation, and they chose not to exercise the value add. I think part of that is really because if you look at our scoring all in with our additional points, we have Kenwood at 99.27, L3 Harris at 90.27, and Motorola at 89.6. The additional value added would have been 5 points, and that would not have moved who was in first place. So the committee decided to stop the process there and to finalize our report at this scoring. So next, what I want to tell you is really the recommendations. And this is what you heard back when we talked to you in November. We recommend that you issue a notice of intent to award to JVC Kenwood, and that we are allowed to negotiate with them for a contract. What we were looking for is an 800 megahertz P25 Phase 2 trunk simulcast radio system with 4 sites, 5 channels, and a connectivity ring that really protects the entirety of the county. That justification was because it was ranked highest in overall scoring. They did comply with our 95% coverage guarantee, and they met all of the critical RFP requirements. And you so kindly gave us that authorization in November to negotiate with them. So now I would like to pause to see if you really have any questions on what got us to this point. And if, once I answer those questions, or if you have none, what I'd like to do is move forward you and tell you what the results of that negotiation is.
Okay, I do have one other question. It was a concern about the coverage. Now, as I understand it, there wanted to be a test run for coverage while the foliage was off the tree. Is that correct?
The foliage must be on the trees for the testing.
Okay, because maybe it was misstated then. Okay.
Could have been.
Okay, all right, yes, because that was a concern that the foliage was not on the tree, and I was like, that's a concern, because I was thinking about like an incident we had where a deputy had gotten shot and the guy was running through the woods and it was summertime and foliage on the tree if someone's down, and that's like putting a blanket over that. So, you know, okay, all right.
Absolutely right, Chairman.
Okay.
And you know, one of the things that we do have in that RFP is that in this particular area, we have learned that we don't go outside of September now for our coverage testing, because once you start to hit that end of September, 1st of October, our leaves are really starting to fall here. And so we just experienced that in Lunenburg where we had our testing. We were really glad we finished it right up into September, because we would have had to stop the process. And the schedule is very important. I'll show that to you in the next couple of slides, because if we miss that window, we have to wait. Right? If we don't make that window, we now have to wait till spring of the following year. So schedule is very important. That's another reason we're trying to move the process forward, so that we don't have to wait an additional 6 months to do our testing, because I would not want to put anyone on the system unless I knew they met that 95% coverage guarantee.
Did y'all have any questions to this point, board members?
All right. Let's move on and talk about how negotiations went. So what we did is we went into negotiations with JVC Kenwood, looking for that 800 megahertz 4-site 5-channel system. And part of this project will be a 300-foot tower at the sheriff's office, meeting all of the 95% coverage guarantees, both talk out and talk in, and that's really important. And I'll explain to you why that's so important and why we do the testing the way we do. It's because oftentimes our vendor community might want to do what's called a BER, or just a signal strength test, which is okay, but that's just testing in one direction. We need to be able to hear on both sides of the radio, right? That person on the street needs to hear dispatch, and dispatch needs to hear the person on the street. So being able to test in both directions is critically important to make sure that you're receiving what you've paid for. We will have distributed P25 cores. We will have cores at all of our site, which is a bit of a uniqueness of this particular design that Kenwood has offered. We'll be receiving 4 desktop consoles and 2 remote consoles. Where that brings us a great deal of value is that if something were to happen at the sheriff's office and the dispatch have to leave the building, we do have a means that they can continue to dispatch with a remote unit. But in addition to that, we will also be having a backup center, so that we have a console there, and they could take their remote consoles and be up and operational really within just a very few minutes. We have a logging recorder, some network management terminals, a very robust microwave system which connects all of our sites. We have interoperability with all of our surrounding jurisdictions, which is so very important. You do a lot of mutual aid, right? You go into the counties around you to help them. They can come in and help you. So we want to make sure that we don't break that communications. And then we have our control stations and mobiles and portables, and you see those quantities. So we negotiated, the first piece of the negotiation is the actual contract to implement the system. Basically, what we were able to do is negotiate in just over $1 million of options and enhancements. And some of those are that 5th radio channel, which really just kind of gives you extra capacity as you move forward throughout your 15 years. The remote consoles were a value add. We were able to upgrade our public safety subscribers to the 8,000 model. The nice thing about that is as new features come about in the next, 10 years or so, those radios will be able to take advantage of those. We also did get quite a few subscriber features, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth that can be used. But one that I really wanted to point out that's particularly valuable to you is an extra 3 years of warranty on all of our subscribers. Industry standard is 2 years, which is what is required. They gave us an additional 3 years, so you'll have 5 years of warranty on all of your subscriber units. And there's a number of other things, safe school control stations. All of your schools will be able to get to dispatch immediately if something were to happen in the schools. And then also some good training over the web for the next 3 years. So as a result of all of that, we were able to save just shy of $350,000 on the contract from their BAFO. And the nice thing about that is our project contingency. We always encourage you to have that. And this savings of just shy of $350,000 more than accounts for the contingency that we believe you should have, just in case something needs to be done at one of our tower sites. So this next slide really shows you all of the dollars as we're moving forward. And what we wanted to just show you in comparison is the difference between the BAFO, their last submission before we gave them notice of intent to award, and what we negotiated. So as you can see, we came down that, just shy of $350,000. So what you see boxed in red is at $7.4 million. That would be the JVC contract. And then we highly recommend that you include a $300,000 contingency. And so that would put your all-in cost there at about $7.7 million. We do want to point out that in working with Buddy, we were able to assist you in securing a $1 million grant from the Department of Justice COPS grant program. So you would end up needing to finance $6.7 million. Now, when I say that, bear in mind that $300,000 may or may not be used, right? If you don't use it, you simply take that off of any financing or any bonding that you've done. But again, we encourage you to include it. That way, we're not coming back here in 12 months saying, I need to do a little bit more grounding at a tower site. We started to use this tower and found out we needed to do something, to repair it, and that it needs a little bit more money. And I think you recognize in any large project, your courthouse or any other major project, it's really critically important to have that contingency fund.
I do have one question, ma'am.
Yes.
The towers are not ours all over the county, correct?
No, not all of them will be.
What is the owner of the tower's responsibility in regards to upkeep and condition?
We will end up signing a lease with them, and all of that will be spelled out. It is their tower. They do have an obligation to maintain it and keep it up.
That is that's a written agreement?
Yes, sir. That will be a written agreement that we will assist you in negotiating.
Who pays for that, the lease?
That lease will be the responsibility of the county. I will tell you that when we did the comparison of all of the proposals, we did calculate in what we thought might be some of the costs that you would incur, so that we were treating all of our proposers equitably as we did our evaluation. I will also say that our goal is always to get the lowest lease we possibly can for you. So we will negotiate just as hard as we can to keep that dollar value down. Oftentimes, you will have things written in your code, in your zoning ordinances and things that you gave them, like a conditional use permit to put that tower up. We will critically read that documentation and see how we can use that to benefit you.
I know in some counties that the county gets a site free.
They can. Oftentimes what will happen is they will allow you a certain number of antennas on a tower. Usually in these projects, we end up putting one or two more than they gave you for free. But again, we're able to negotiate, and they do understand your public safety. They know it's in their critical interest. But also we have to recognize that these tower owners are in their revenue generators for them. So we are cognizant of that. But we'll just work as hard as we can.
Our 300-foot tower, can we generate revenue with that?
That is certainly a possibility. Yes, and that is one of the reasons we considered that tower as being particularly valuable to you. You will just need a certain portion of that, so there will be a great deal of the tower that you could use for income.
And that's the 300-foot tower. Is at the sheriff's office? Is
Yes, sir.
3 other locations that will be leased. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that's 15-year leases. minimum?
I will do my best to negotiate 15. I will tell you, they usually like to stop at 10 and give you 2 5-year options.
Okay.
Yes. Go.
Really important to remember on the towers, and also I want to remind everyone here, sometimes this project is referred to as the Nottoway Tower Project. I just want to cover that. I just want to cover that first, because it is much, much more, and she's going to mention what that is. It's 4 towers out of a large infrastructure that runs county line to county line, basically in the airwaves. All right, so the important thing to remember about our towers is we currently, to Mr. Collins's point, we currently own all 3 of those others. We're on there now, and we pay 0. So she's figuring in worst case. We use Kinston Forest, we use Old Shore, and we use Southside Electric Cooperative. And when we look at Southside Electric Cooperative, we're looking at it really close because it's loaded heavy. But if that is not an option, we're hoping that we can work out something, and we've been pretty open with us and have told Ms. Jiggets that the one across the road from PGH, the beautiful Nottoway County painting across from PGH, that tower, may be an option, but if we can get on Southside Electric, that's what's in the proposal. And also, to your point, that 300-foot tower, we were so adamant about replacing the sheriff's tower, we would be going from a skinny, old tower at 180 feet to a nice footprint at the bottom, self-standing, not monopole like Kinston Forest, but self-standing that puts a big footprint at the bottom, but it starts angling up, and it would be 300. So you can figure the math on that. It's 180 now. And we're sitting on this second highest bump in Nottoway on topography. So
Was there any projections in here for the leases as far as cost in case there was a?
sure, yeah, like I said, she figured worst case. I'll yield back to her.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, in the report that you have, the larger report, the evaluation report, you will see that there is a line item in there for leases. If you go to the large cost page at the end. And those, again, were projections based upon how many antennas and how many microwave dishes each of our vendors thought that they would place on those towers. We typically, when we do this, we don't calculate in what you have now, as Mr. Hyde indicated, that you do have antennas on there free now. Because what we have to be careful of is we're putting different antennas. We're putting bigger antennas and heavier antennas. And oftentimes, they will not give us a one-for-one replacement. Sometimes they will. So again, just to be very transparent and just to let you know what we feel like it could be, we did do a worst case. We look at all the antennas on each of the towers, all of the microwave dishes, where they're sitting, because sometimes it depends on height, how much they want to charge you. We do try to do everything we can to collapse our footprint on the tower, because that makes a big difference. We try to take up as little land space as we need to, as possible in our compounds, because they've gotten to where now they charge us for that space as well. But, in that whole process, we're just going to work really hard with your team. And again, look at what agreements you have in place, because those will be critically important. What did they promise you, right? What did they agree to when you allowed them to build that tower in Nottoway County?
I have a question on the maintenance. I'm looking at it, excuse me, and in the 9th year, I'm looking at $1.3 million. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, sir. You're about 3 slides ahead of me.
Sorry. I was looking at the big numbers.
I know you are. I know. I can answer that now, or if you want to give me just a moment,
Whichever.
I will get there.
That's
All righty.
fine.
Let's just look at the schedule. We like to, got a little carried away. Okay, so this is your schedule for that money that you've just spent. We believe it'll take 2 years. We started this project, back in '22 with our needs assessment. '23 was consumed with this procurement process. We'll begin this in Q1 of this year, we certainly hope, and we believe that it can be in place by Q4 of 2025. And to speak to your point, Chairman, you'll see that there is a coverage testing slide, and that is a line third from the bottom. That does happen in third quarter of 2025, so that takes us right up to that September point. And that, again, is, of course, assuming we do start in Q1 of 2024. So now let's get to the all-important maintenance. All right, let me tell you what you're going to get, right, before we get to all the big numbers, all right? So what we're going to do, again, this is a big complex system. It's got a lot of computer technology in it. You know, when I first started in this business, everything was circuit-based. Now everything's routers and, you know, IP and all of that. So we need to make sure that we maintain and keep all of that healthy and keep it updated, which is critically important. So we're going to maintain our logging recorder, all of our radio infrastructure, with not only if something breaks, it gets repaired, but preventative maintenance. We know that's important, right? If we can keep the preventative maintenance up, the likelihood of something breaking is far less. We're going to do that for our connectivity as well as all of our dispatch equipment, and we'll get remote technical support. That's that they have to be in our system within 2 hours. And then we'll get this Atlas hardware refresh. That's where the big number comes in. What you're going to find, as I mentioned, that you have a lot of servers, right? You have a lot of servers, you have a lot of routers, a lot of computer equipment. And we all know our computers don't last 15 years, do they? You know, we have to generally replace them 5 to 7 years. So what we have programmed in here is that replacement of those computer-related items in our system, the servers and routers and things of that nature. And not only do they just, these are very robust, so they will last much longer than yours and mine, our laptops will. But not only is it just the life cycle, we use them 24/7, but also we're going to be updating our system, right? We're going to do security patches, right? We all do that every now and again. We turn on a computer and we have to download an update, right? And at some point, your computer just can't update anymore, right? It's run out of memory, it's run out of whatever. It just cannot update itself. So that's something that you could run into. We wanted to protect you from that. So replacing this computer-based equipment in that 9th year will allow you to continue to have robust updates throughout the 15 years of your life cycle and not have an issue. So those are all the things, just some of the others, that basic software, which I'm talking about, security updates, and then alarm management, which is so important to know the health of our system. So we saved you about just shy of $1.2 million in negotiating all of these things with JVC Kenwood. But we also got a little bit more, about $1.5 million worth of additional software upgrades. What that is doing is not just giving us basic software, it's giving us anything enhanced. So if JVC Kenwood comes out with something new, right? A new great feature that you want to take advantage of and that your equipment can support, your hardware can support, what we want to make sure that we can do is that our servers can support it, that our routers can support it. So all of that, not just the critical security patches and things of that nature, we want to be able to take advantage of anything new that comes up over 15 years. And so that's what that $1.5 million that we were able to negotiate in will take care of. So now let's look at those numbers. And I'm gonna explain it to you in 2 different ways, which I think is really important to hear. One is that an annual maintenance under negotiation would be about $307,000 a year. We would recommend that that's something you program into your operating budget so that it is there for you each year. So that's just a flat level year over year for the 14 years. And I've been saying 15 years all along. Why am I saying 14? Well, the first year is warranty, right? We implement our system, we get 1 year of warranty. So if anything happens, they're going to make it right. Our maintenance actually starts in year 2. So it goes year 2 through 15. So that's 14 years. If you did not want to just program a flat amount in each year, you can look at below and see what it would look like each individual year. So let's say your second year would be $201,000, and you can see it incrementally goes up as the economy, you know, certainly we have interest and inflation each year. But that year 9, that $1.3 million, that is that hardware refresh. That's replacing all of those servers and all of those routers. So you'd have to be really mindful of that. If you chose not to go flat and just know that 307 is what you're paying every year, you would have to program in and be prepared for that $1.3 million, which is, again, just over $1 million over and above the 200-some thousand that you would normally be spending in maintenance. Yes, sir.
To go back to the warranty, so you're going to start us on maintenance in the second year, but you said
Yes,
we
sir.
had 5 years worth of warranty, so the warranty is just on equipment?
Well, the 5 years was just on your subscribers. Subscribers and your infrastructure have 2 different warranties. So our infrastructure, which is all of our radio equipment, the equipment that goes on those towers that Mr. Hyde just spoke with you about, in all of our consoles and all of that, our microwave system, that has 1 year of warranty. Our subscriber units, the portable radios that we're going to carry, the mobile radios that we place in the vehicles, those normally have a 2 year. We now have a 5 year warranty for those.
What if a deputy drops one?
That's a good question. Our experience have been that usually if it's considered normal wear and tear, they will cover it. Now, what I have been told is if that deputy continues to do that 2 and 3 times, we're going to have a hard talk with them. Because at some point you have to be reasonable, right? We need them to take care of the equipment. But, you know, our vendor community is very good, and Kenwood will honor this warranty and make sure that if something happens to your units under normal conditions, and we know fire personnel, right? We understand what normal conditions in this environment is not normal conditions for my iPhone, right? So we recognize that.
Speaking of normal conditions for your iPhone, you can buy a warranty on this. All right, so insurance would be a big topic. Should we insure these individual radios, and what sort of insurance do we need in place for these towers and what's on the tower? And next thing is, before you answer that, I'm a newcomer, one of 3.
Yes, sir?
A lot of this is very new to me.
Yes, sir.
You said you're doing a wonderful presentation of it.
Thank you.
I'm thinking of the whole time how we're gonna fund it,
Yes, sir.
because these numbers are very large. You almost sound a little bit like a life insurance person. When you die, you can't have enough life insurance, but if you can't afford it, and you pay it for 3 years and live 5, then you
Yeah.
swallowed your money away.
I know.
So the insurance is the first question I've got for you.
Well, certainly insurance is something that we would help you work through. You certainly should insure all of your equipment. As a matter of fact, that will be a condition of the lease, right? When we negotiate leases, your leaseholder will expect you to have insurance. They will have to have insurance for their tower. They will expect you to have insurance for your equipment. So that will be a reciprocal.
So even if somebody was to lose a radio, our insurance would probably come in and
Yes.
less deductible pay for it.
Yes, and again, we can work with you to make sure we have the right insurance that can do things like that. So there is that insurance piece, of course, that we'll have to look at. When it speaks to actually financing, again, that's something else that we can work with you. We're an engineering firm, but certainly having been doing this for 30 years, we have a lot of experience. We assisted Lunenburg with tax-free bonds, and that's something that actually, if you work with the VRA, is coming up in spring. So, you know, if that's a direction you want to go, which is really that's generally the best interest rate that you can get, is tax-free bonds. So we would highly encourage you to consider that. We will say that we do have other avenues that you could go after, you know, bank loans or depending upon, of course, your bond ratings and, you know, what you've done here in the county. Sometimes we can work with our vendor community and they could finance.
That was
Again,
my next question. If you buy a new truck, Ford Motor Company offers a whole lot of good incentives.
and we've received all the incentives even without them financing. So we've negotiated.
So can we still finance and include
Certainly.
these incentives?
Oh,
That they've
yes.
already done?
Yes, these incentives don't go anywhere regardless of how you pay for it.
Okay.
Was any of that insurance that Mr. Toth was speaking of, was any of that insurance cost figured into these estimates?
No, sir, it was not. Right now, what we're looking at, what we're considering here is your actual contract with JVC Kenwood, because that was really the focus of it. What we'll do is continue to work with your team, and we can work with Mr. Bowen, now that he is in place, and talk about what this looks like holistically for the county.
Yeah, Steve, figure it out.
Typical for the, first, is there any adjacent counties that's already have this in place,
Yes, sir.
such as Nottoway, Lunenburg, Prince Edward?
Lunenburg, we just did coverage testing for Lunenburg. Again, we wrote into our RFP a 95% coverage guarantee. We
So they are
actually,
currently using the system?
yes.
Okay.
We actually tested out at right 98%, so we were very pleased with that. They're actively on the system. We just cut over in November of last year, so they're very pleased with that. We are working with Amelia, who's putting in a very similar system. They're about a year out from cutover. We just negotiated a contract with Prince Edward. They're upgrading. They already had P25 in some form or fashion in Phase 1. We're going to be moving them to Phase 2 and giving them additional coverage. Their sheriff only had one site, and it was not enough coverage. It didn't cover the county for him. So we'll be implementing that over the next probably 18 to 24 months. Who else?
In price comparison to the adjacent counties, I know it's a big difference because of land mass.
Right.
But how much of a difference is it roughly?
This is very comparable. What we do, and that's one of the reasons I think our services can be valuable to you, because we know what the price should be. We've just negotiated 3 contracts. So we bring all of that into our negotiations, and this price that we've negotiated for you is comparable or actually slightly less.
Must be a lot of profit in it to negotiate over $1 million less. we in the wrong business.
All right.
But I love
But
what
I
I do.
appreciate you doing it. I can see you do. You got a passion for it.
I'm gonna get off that big money slide. How's that? Move on. Alrighty. Next steps. Well, we need to sign a contract. And I will say, I was not able to bring the contract with me. It is 1,674 pages.
Wow.
So sit
We'd
that
have
like
to send
that.
it to the attorney before we
I
signed it anyway.
know. Well, here's the thing. That sounds overwhelming. However, we build on our progress. So at the bottom of that is the original proposal that JVC Kim submitted, then the RFP, all of the back and forth, because we don't want to lose anything. And that's what we bring to you over the life of the implementation, remembering all of that. So that if there's ever a question later, you know, a year and a half into this, did we say we would do this or that? Well, you said you'd do that, because I have all of this documentation that I can go back to really quickly, and pricing. We can hold them to all of the pricing because we have that really, you know, robust spreadsheet that is part of that contract vehicle. So that's why it does end up being so large, because we don't want to lose any of the work, you know, the good work that the committee and that our team has done over the last 2 years. So, sign a contract, step one. And then we'll start to, very quickly, that's when we start that negotiation with the site owners, right? We want to get in there as quickly as we can. We start reading your paperwork, we start talking with them and figuring out, you know, how much space do we need on your tower? Are you current with all of your recertifications? You know, things of that nature, and seeing what kind of price we can get you. And we also want to make sure we can secure those locations, because that is what the coverage guarantee is based upon. And then we go through all of our implementation tasks, developing fleet map. That's where we bring this committee back in and all of the agencies to work with us to make sure they know who they need to talk with when. We go through very robust acceptance testing, not the least of which is coverage testing, where we actually go out in vehicles and we do it. Can you hear me now? We've got a person, actually we have 3 people in a vehicle. We have 3 people at dispatch. They get scored both ways. And then we aggregate all of that to make sure that they meet your coverage guarantee. And then we train. That is so important. You can have the best system in the world. You know, you could pass all of your coverage tests, but if somebody doesn't know how to use a radio, you know, it's broken, right? So we really value the training, and we really have one-on-one training with each and every user. And then we have final system acceptance and cutover. And then you have a brand-new system that's going to last you for 15 years. And what's so important about that, it's going to give all of your users that coverage where they need it, and that capacity piece, they can use it when they need it, and they know they can rely on it. Just as Mr. Hyde mentioned about the state trooper. You know, to me, nothing could be worse, right, than keying up on a radio and nobody can hear you. You know, when you're in that burning building or you're being shot at. So we want to make sure this system gives them that peace of mind that they know it's going to work when and where they need it. Any other
I heard
questions?
you say something about, a little bit about digital versus analog. What about the satellites? When is that gonna come into play for cell phones and radio communication that we don't need any more towers?
Hang on, Bo, you're asking some great questions, but I don't see your microphone.
It fell off. You see it?
Come on, man, I gotta hear my MC,
So,
man.
so is satellite something coming down the pipe, perhaps 15 years from now, that we don't have to deal with the towers no more? Because it went from analog to digital, and then you hear all the time, I'll be glad when it gets satellite, so I don't lose cell service when I drop down in that bottom.
Well, that's interesting, because you know what? Even when I drop down on that bottom of my satellite radio, it kicks out. So you have to be really careful about satellite when it comes to being able to use on a low-powered, you know, handheld or even a mobile radio in your vehicle. It really doesn't give you that consistent, robust coverage that you need for public safety. It's not to say it cannot augment us, but I am not sure there's going to be a time where that simply replaces our land mobile radio systems that need those towers. And again, we're going back to that sturdiness, that robustness of the coverage we get and the equipment that we put in. This has to work 24/7. 365. It doesn't get a break. It's not like if your computer at work breaks and the IT person says, I'll get to you a couple of days later.
We don't have any
can't
time.
do that.
Right.
It's got to be something that works all the time.
So 4G and 5G, isn't that moving on up a little bit?
It is moving up.
Oh, I mean, because we're just getting 5G in certain areas of Nottoway County. That's the reason I asked the question.
I
I'm
gotta say,
dumbfounded with these
my
telephones.
5G doesn't work as well as my 4G did, but anyway.
Well,
that's
why
a
is
whole
that?
different
That's the
discussion.
question. So why is that? I'm
Well,
not familiar
that's-
with it.
Well, that's cellular. They use different wavelengths than we use in radio. That's why we stick with RF. Although I will tell you that some of those features that we were able to negotiate in, you can use Wi-Fi and cellular on these radios. It could augment your land mobile radio. So we want to make sure we take advantage of all of the different things. We just don't want to depend on them for our foundation.
I see.
Okay. All right, well, I guess, I mean, we normally don't run presentations this long, but if there was anything you needed to wrap up in conclusion here, I'd like to go ahead and move towards that. And also, you know, y'all have a time frame of some things here, and of course, there's a lot of questions with 3 new ones. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to go ahead and, while I'm thinking about it, form an ad hoc committee with Mr. Collins and Mr. Toth, and of course, Administrator Bowen as well would be able to attend any of those meetings with y'all, and have that ad hoc committee be involved with you guys here on out. The only thing I would ask the committee to do is please take in mind their schedules. I know there's some days that Mr. Toth, because of his job, is not available, and also mindful of Mr. Collins' job as well. Are you two willing to take that ad hoc position for us?
I would, yeah.
Okay.
I would, yes.
Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and do that, and that way we can maybe get some of this information disseminated a little bit quicker, and that would be 2 of the new ones, you know, jumping right into this and maybe speed this up as quick as we need. Well, of course, I mean, we got to figure out some finance.
Well,
I mean,
well,
before we
Mr.
can do
Chairman, so
anything.
I got clear direction on this. So you want to get the ad hoc committee, meet with the team, get any questions answered or whatever before we sign a contract or anything? Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, I would have to ask the board,
We would come back to the board, Bill and I would come back to the board, and I would want to get educated. You can't pick a better committee they have to get educated from. They've been dealing with it longer than my 7 weeks.
right, and I know they're looking at signing a contract as soon as possible, but there again, we've got a huge finance question.
We got to figure that out, because we can sign the contract all day long, and if we can't fund it, what good's the contract?
Yeah, that's right.
But she brought some good points up in the way of finance.
Right, that's right.
But still, at the bottom line, it's still over $7 million. But one big concerning issue is the 14 years. That's over $300,000 maintenance a year.
But so, I mean, the project, basically, you have to figure, this 15-year project's $11 million.
Yeah, because you had to figure the maintenance in
That's
along
right.
with it. Right.
So that, I mean, to me, that's the number. It's
And I
$11
mean,
million.
it's not about, yes, it is whether we can afford it. But money is no comparison to lives of the citizens and the people who do what they do, the EMS and the firefighters and the law enforcement in Nottoway County. We do get that and realize that. And we're gonna do all we can do to protect them and help them in any kind of way we can. But there again, if you get a locality that can't finance it, you just can't do it. It's sort of like that life insurance I mentioned to you about. You just can't do it. But we'll work all we can with that committee and trying to find a solution to get it done. I will promise you that.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, board members, we will go ahead. Was there anything else that y'all needed to hear before we close that presentation? Okay. All right. We'll do that. All right. Next on the agenda is the departmental reports. Ms. Deanna Bryant from VDOT. I know I saw her. There she is. How are you? Good, good.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Members of the board, Mr. Bowen. Look forward to working with all of you upcoming years, and we've got the new 6-year plan will be coming up here over the next few months. We'll be working on those. But the updates for the report that's in your packet, I know that there was a lot of storms, a lot of roads that were closed with the last rain that we had earlier this month. And I wanted to remind people that when roads are closed because of overtopping from water. And if there's a bridge on those locations and you see that the water has receded, but the road is not yet open, that's because we have to get our bridge and structures team to come out and do an inspection on the bridge or the box culvert, the whatever structure it may be, to make sure that it's sound and it didn't sustain any damage from the water. So
Do you expect the citizens to contact the county if they've seen one? I've got a small bridge by my house that occasionally will overtop.
if there's a bridge that's overtopped and you don't see signs out there, you can call us directly, or you can call our call center, and those calls will go directly to us. That's the 1-800-367-ROAD. You can call that, or you all will have our direct contact information. You can call us as well. Because if the bridges are overtopped, we really need to know about it. Our guys do go out and they check during these storms, but today it can be good, tomorrow it can be overtopped, because once the rivers start cresting, then the roads will overtop even after the rains have stopped. So I just wanted to put that out there to make sure, because a lot of people will go out and just move the signs. And there were some areas that once they were inspected, there were voids underneath the roadway that weren't visible from the top. So it's always safe if you see a road closed sign, just even the temporary signs because of road overtopping, not to cross it. Okay, so another report says that there's no pending studies, but we do have a pending study still in Blackstone on Route 40 and Route 46 to do a gradual reduction of speed. We were able to pick that up once the town of Blackstone actually posted their 25 mile an hour within their town limits. So now we've picked that back up, and it's in the queue for our traffic engineering study. The Route 46 project, the demo of several deck spans is complete, and they've started on another. So the demolition is ongoing. The completion date that is on your report was the original completion date of that bridge. And I know I came multiple times because there were problems with materials and steel. So we're still negotiating with the contractor. So once there is a new fixed completion date on that, we will put it on there, but we're estimating it's still going to probably be fall of this year. And this coming week, we have 4 pre-construction meetings for the new resurfacing projects that are coming up this year, for slurry seal, for surface treatment, for latex, and plant mix overlays. And just like I said last month, once these schedules begin, you'll probably see a lot of emails with a 2-week look ahead. We usually try to send that out to all of our counties so that you all know what roads are coming up, what application is being done. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. And that is all of the additional information that I had for you.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
I want to say thank you for solving that problem I asked about at the last meeting.
Absolutely.
That was good to know. And the other thing is, I wanted to ask, do you know when your 624 project is going to start? Is that?
The bridge replacement
Yes.
project on 624. We just talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and I will check on that to see when that is
Okay.
supposed to start. We usually work with the school too to see if we need to do any bus turnarounds or anything like that
Okay.
before we shut down the.
All right, thank you.
So, yeah, I'll let you know in plenty of time.
Thanks.
All right, y'all have any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bryant, as always. And thank you, a wonderful team here in Nottoway County. They do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Okay, your solid waste report is in your package. Is Building Inspector Bowles, is he here?
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
I have a small thing I'll talk to in my report.
Okay. Of course, your animal control report, Piedmont Health District report, your library report is there as well. Nottoway County School Board, Dr. Grimes, or does anybody have anything from the school board?
Chair,
Hello.
board members, Mr. Bowen. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you once again for an opportunity to speak and provide information about Nottoway County Public Schools. I am Tamisha Grimes, the superintendent of Nottoway County Public Schools. Well, we are back from winter break. I think folks enjoyed their break, and then we had some unexpected time away due to weather, lots of rain, and then we had some nice cold, icy weather. And then we also had some water issues that impacted our ability to operate and function, but we have been back for the last couple of days and look forward to continuing through January and having a great finish of this first semester and starting into the second semester. It's also budget season, as you all are well aware. The school board has its first work session scheduled for Wednesday, where they will receive preliminary information with what we have from our estimates from the state. We all know the General Assembly is at its point and its process of its negotiations and looking at what the governor proposed versus what each chamber of the General Assembly would like to do. So we look forward to that process as well. Mr. Bowen, I have had the pleasure and the privilege of having an open communication relationship with each of the county administrators since I arrived in Nottoway on July 15th of 2019. I can look forward to continuing that tradition with you. I would also not be surprised, board members, if school board members will not issue an invitation for a joint budget work session, as that is something that has been a topic of discussion for a period of time. As I said last time I was before you, I look forward to getting to know each of the new members and having a positive, productive, cooperative relationship with the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brown. And to a point, yes, Mr. Abbott and I had a brief conversation last night and was discussing possible meetings. Did I say brief? Brief. I did say brief. I think it was 11:30 before we got off the phone last night. Anyway, all right. Anything from social services at this time? Okay. Buddy Hyde, Emergency Services. Did you have anything further, sir?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I just want to put a shout out. The report is in your packet, of course, every month. If you have questions, I'm here to answer any questions you may have on my report. But I just wanted to give a shout out, and she was supposed to be here tonight, Marilyn Hill from Nottoway Correctional Center. They came out today with the workforce crew that they have, and with Marilyn Hill's supervision and LRA Shane Hawkins, they did a great job. We cleaned out the bottom of our Nottoway Health Department today. They did a phenomenal job in about 3 or 4 hours, so I want to thank them for that. Did you have any further?
No, the only thing I want to say is I know there were some trying times this past couple of weeks. I know that there was, with the storm that was incoming, and right in the middle of the storm, I know crew had a fully engulfed trailer. At the same time, I heard the scanner going off, that unresponsive person, and the sheriff's department was first on scene with that. And I just want to say to you and Steve, the communication between y'all, and of course I was looped in as default director, but what y'all done was phenomenal, and it was so appreciated. People don't get to see or hear that, but the communication between y'all on the ground, then the water issue happened in the town of Crew, and the communication with that, with the fire departments and everything was just phenomenal. Crew and Burkeville stepped up. Blackstone offered assistance down there at the treatment center. It's like, I know everybody got a lot to complain about, but I'm going to tell you what, it's good to see when these things happen like this. It's unfortunate, but it's good to see these 3 towns in this county come together, and that's what we're going to continue to focus on, the good things.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and definitely you mentioned Crew. A lot of people thought about the Crew water this week, but a lot of people forgot about Monday night last week before the Crew water incident, is we had flooding in the county.
Right.
So we had six roads closed, and I was talking to Chief Chenep from Crew, and he had to actually go to the one fire that had the fully involved. They had to drive through water up on the wheels, I think, of the truck. So, and they eventually VDOT closed that road down after the fire. But there was a lot of activity this week, and really everybody did great. Law enforcement, fire, EMS, and that's what it's all about.
It just goes to prove that it don't matter how much water you got, a fire can happen at any time, right?
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
And thank y'all for everything you've done. Mr. Zodi, Plan of Economic Development.
Good evening, Supervisors. It's a pleasure to be before you all. I have a few quick updates. I've been tracking the General Assembly regarding solar. So and I believe I emailed you.
You
all
said a
this.
curse word.
I know. You've been around me enough to know that.
I'm
I
just
get
kidding, man.
started.
I'm just kidding.
But there is an effort. I would say we need to thank Creighton Deeds out of the Charlottesville area. He wants to kind of bypass localities, and I have a real issue with that. And Mr. Ingram and I, Supervisor Ingram, excuse me, we discussed that at our Planning Commission meeting last week. Transitioning into the solar, I've worked on the basically reverse engineering our existing, the ad that we used to repeal it in May of 2022. I'm working on that, but I do want to get it reviewed by council. And I can talk to the board on that more in depth, but we're planning on holding that public hearing, joint public hearing with the board on February 20th, 7 p.m. So having said that, I do want to note that we had a previous speaker tonight who talked litigation and whatnot. I have received 2 exception requests for a particular site on Lee Lake. That this involves it's to briefly describe it, an exception is a tool used in the subdivision ordinance, which allows people who feel that the subdivision agent, me, is being unfair, too strict, or whatever. And they go before the Planning Commission, and it has to be legally advertised according to 15.2, 2204 through 06 in the code. Basically, we're just going to publish an ad, send letters to all the adjacent property owners. Now, there's an 8-lot proposed subdivision and then a 14-lot proposed subdivision. I'm adamantly against private roads. We don't have language in our code, in our subdivision ordinance, that allows road maintenance agreements. So this is really their only course of revenue. I'm just going to present the facts to the Planning Commission and let them make that decision. But we have an ordinance for a reason, and we also have that release valve, like a variance for land use, for the zoning ordinance. And we'll see how that turns out, how the Planning Commission responds to that. I have to do that within 60 days. I received the notice from the defendant's counsel on the 9th, and I have 60 days, so I have to hold that hearing, that public hearing, before March 8th.
Okay.
Because I just want to get that through, follow that process to the letter of the law.
Gotcha.
Please.
That's all I had for y'all tonight. Sorry.
I said, please, follow the letter.
Yes, sir. I won't let that happen. Not happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Constitutional Officer report, Jane Brown, I did not see her here. Sheriff, do you have anything right now, sir? Okay. You want to go sleep a little bit? I know your team's been working hard too, Sheriff, and greatly appreciate it. It's Ms. Rayford here. I did not see Ms. Rayford either. Okay. Christy.
She's here.
How are you?
I'm good. How is everybody?
Good.
Okay, I have a couple things.
Okay.
First thing I want to start with, I know Mr. Collins has read my email. Did the rest of you read my email about the BAI net?
I've not read it.
I did not. I got an issue with my tablet.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to read what I sent you guys, or do y'all want?
Sure.
Okay. It's been a couple years since I've asked for this, but we would like to upgrade the Bright system with what we have now. And I have attached everything in the email, so when y'all go look at the email, there's a bunch of attachments that give everything that you'll need. Okay. So I'm gonna just kind of skip through that wording on there. But if all 3 offices upgrade, mine, the treasurer, and the administrator's office, we get a 20% discount. It was approved 2 years ago. I don't know where the money went, or if there's money still out there for it. Probably not. It's probably been taken somewhere else. But anyway, with the BAI net, with our office, business license will be able to be done online, everything, payment, submitting them. Also in my office, you'll be able to update your addresses, you'll be able to update your vehicles, In the treasurer's office, you'll be able to pay your bills online. You'll be able to see your live bill. You can go in, see exactly what you owe. If you've made a payment, it will show that. Another thing with my office, with the real estate cards, they're live. When we make a change today, tomorrow that change is on there.
Great.
Which is amazing, because what we have now is awful. It's once a year, and it's awful, but this is, you know, the administrator's office, I don't know everything that they could do with the upgrade, but you can talk to Logan and Andrea and Susan about that. The money, like I said, is in y'all's email that I sent you. There is a one-time fee, and it is $23,825, but that covers all 3 offices. And then after that, it's just the annual maintenance per year, and that comes to $8,225, and it's split between the 3 offices like we're already doing. So we already have the system, we're already splitting the cost, this is just a better version. It has more modules, it's more user-friendly, and it's for the taxpayers. The taxpayers will be able to use it just as much as we can.
Take the pressure off the offices as well, the lines from. You know.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, Ms. Hudson, do you know what the current yearly amount is?
Hold on.
You said it was the late 90s. It may not even be, is it being,
Well, no.
is it being updated or being taken care
No,
of?
no, it is. It's like 23, I don't remember. I'm thinking of something else. Hold on, I've got too many things going on in my brain. I can get you the exact numbers and email it to you.
Okay.
Because I don't want to tell you.
Just to piggyback on Ms. Hudson, I talked to Ms. Chandler, our finance director, about it today, and she's all for it. It's really going to prevent any possible disconnect between the 3 main offices, which I think is our finance director, Christie, and of course the treasurer.
All right.
And
And Steve, you'll have access. You'll be on Overwatch. You'll be able to see.
Right. And it's not that I don't want to say it's a disconnect now, but it just keeps the team knowing what the right and left hands are doing all the time.
Right.
I think everybody's doing things a little bit different in each
Yeah.
place, and so then it's very difficult for us to receive the information that we need to make our decisions. So if this is going to help us make decisions up here.
And I think Ms. Hudson made a good point. We have the system, and some people say, well, it's outdated. I talked to a guy from one of the auditors, and he says, well, it's getting outdated. It's getting outdated, the Bright system, he calls it. But we're not using it to its capacity.
Right.
No, we're not.
Right.
There's
So that's the first start. That's the first step.
It's training.
And there has been rumors that Brights was gonna phase out.
Yeah, I heard that too. Right.
I've talked to Robin there. I emailed her yesterday. I said, hey, the rumors are going around. Are you guys going to still be in business if we move forward with this? And she said, absolutely.
Okay.
They'll be there.
That was good, because that did come up in a work session last year.
Yeah, I remembered something about that.
And I will ask you this, because part of the reason why, because they were trying to put it in the budget last year, $150,000 to switch away from that Bright system because of some of that. And with that, I remember you brought it to our attention that if we had switched, we were going to also have to outsource the reassessment. With this upgrade, would y'all would still be able to do that in-house?
Everything
Perfect.
stays with Brights. We don't have to get a third party in to do our real estate. Everything is already there.
All right. Is there a time frame that the 3 departments are looking to move this forward? Is this something that we need to work into the budget for next year? Is this something that we need to look into the general fund now to
Well,
start?
as soon as possible would be wonderful, but
Listening to her talk, I'd say look into the general fund now.
Since she said it was allocated originally, we need to find out where that money went.
Right.
And
Well, it's
we
still,
could,
I would hope it'd still be there, so I think y'all have already made a decision to do it. That's why I'd say look into the general budget now to do it.
Well, the bad thing about it is you're talking possibly 2 other budgets that didn't happen, and the money's probably gotten reallocated somewhere.
Right.
We could look back and find that, but I still think that maybe we should be moving forward with this as well, too, though.
I think so. I think so.
Mr. Chairman,
And
can I
there's-
ask a question
Yes,
for
ma'am.
Ms. Hudson? The useful life of this upgrade,
Mm-hmm.
the 23.8, what is the useful life expanded period that we'll have to do it again?
I'll ask, I do not know,
Find that
but I'll
out.
find that out for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll ask Robin tomorrow.
So what we're saying, basically, all the team players, all the departments, constitutional officers are getting on the same page, which we should be.
Right.
And then we could promote financial reports that are true pictures, because everybody is talking,
Well, we're already on the same system.
but not as much as we
This,
could be.
this, if we go this route, it's more beneficial to the taxpayers. I mean, it helps us too, don't get me wrong. It cuts down on some traffic, especially like when you have out-of-state contractors who need to get business license. I don't want to mail a check. I know they don't want to mail a check. They can go online, they can do it all, boom, done.
Like real estate agents too. They won't-
Exactly.
Do they have any fee to have to pay online? Is it any additional fee
That I'm gonna have to check on also. I don't think so, but I will check on that
for the county
too.
or for the person who's buying the
Right.
license?
Yeah, because right now it's, what is it, 2.75 or something that they charge you at the treasurer's office for the fee, but I'll ask to see if
Probably, a lot
there's
of
a
that's
fee.
credit card though, isn't it?
That's for the
Right.
credit card. Yeah, but I'll see if there's a credit card fee associated, but I don't think it is.
And they still wouldn't be forced to use it. It'd just be
Right.
optional. If they
That's
wanted
right.
to, they'd have to pay the fee.
That's right.
Right, it's optional, and there's little to no downtime, like minimal, 5 minutes, because we already have the system, it will not take them long. The longest part for them is to do the website, because they will have to do us a website, that will take the longest. But like I said, everything is in y'all's emails, just read over it, and if, after you look at it, if you have any questions, just email me back, and I'll get the answers for you on that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just as a matter of procedure, this type of request, not this particular one, it is an expenditure. It has to be voted on.
Yes, we would. Yes, we would. Once we get everything finalized with the final numbers and everything, and it sounds like this could potentially, we would just leave this under unfinished business and take care of this next month.
That's fine. That's fine.
Oh.
Okay.
That'll give me time to get those couple questions, and you guys time to ask any if you have any.
Yeah, because, I mean, the citizens been asking for this for quite some time, so ease of use is, I mean, people are willing to pay for ease of use.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
okay. All right, did y'all have any other questions for her right now, or did you?
I think she's got something else maybe.
Oh, that's
Just
right.
looking at us.
I do have something else.
Okay,
I'm wondering if this shouldn't be done in a work session,
okay.
because I have a map that needs to be laid out. But I will kind of touch base. Are you guys familiar, or have you heard about Prince Edward has hired Hurt and Profit?
Yes.
To do the, okay, all right. I have a map that Susan Tucker and Susan did this beautiful map, okay? And I have gone through and marked off the parcels. And I also have an Excel spreadsheet that I've done that gives us how much revenue we will potentially lose for personal property and real estate, and I even have the 24 values on here. I think we probably ought to do a work session.
Okay.
If that's okay with y'all, so I can sit down and we can pull this map out and sit down at the table and I can show you everybody that we could potentially lose.
We're gonna gain some too.
No, we're not.
Well, the
The
line,
loss-
so
the
the
loss
line
is-
was,
the
so the
loss is
line
bigger.
was,
If
Yeah.
this goes through the way that they're talking, we are going to lose.
I think one projection was about $40,000. I don't know where it is.
I don't know where that came from. It's
Okay.
like 25,000.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Does this have anything to do with Amelia or Dinwiddie or any of them?
Amelia is part of it.
Okay,
Because some of it goes into Amelia, yes. But it's 58 parcels in Nottoway that
Okay.
we would potentially lose. 2 of them are tax exempt, but the other 56, and some of those do pay personal property also. So a total between the 2 for personal property and real estate, it's $28,321 that we would lose, and then we could lose 58 parcels.
Are you speaking of moving the boundary? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
Yes.
no, no, the line's the line. In other words, where these properties are, there's gonna be potentially 58 parcels that will end up paying taxes in both counties.
Yes.
For what reason? Are they not moving the boundary line of the
No,
county?
no, the line's the line. See, in the past, now, Ms. Hudson, please correct me if I'm wrong, the commissioners of revenue, that's why when people are screaming about someone did something illegal, someone didn't do anything illegal, because the commissioners of the revenue have the authority through their duly elected service to get together and say, this parcel's in Nottoway, this parcel's in Prince Edward. Wherever they decide you pay your taxes, you pay your taxes.
That don't even sound ethical to me. It's either in the county or it's out the county.
But what I'm saying is, they did it to simplify.
That don't sound like too simplifying
All
to
right,
me.
but
though.
now the line's the line, and those lines that run through, and your parcel runs on both sides of the line,
So
you will
all
pay
of
your
our
taxes on
bordering,
both.
not to overstep, all of our bordering counties, Amelia, Lunenburg, Prince Edward, that are Nottoway, we're gonna go through and she's gonna look at all these properties on those lines and get it straight.
Well, this is the ones up there. Amelia and Nottoway was done a long time ago.
Because this is a little bit, this is new to us.
Lunenburg's easy because the river is a line.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
This is just what has come about since last year.
This
on
was,
Orchard
I believe this was
Road,
back in the 30s, I
Burke's
think.
Tavern.
1930s.
But what happened to, I know a specific place on the Dinwiddie-Nottoway line. It's a 645-acre tract, of which 90 acres lies in Nottoway. They paid the real estate taxes for those 90 acres in Nottoway, and the rest of it goes to Dinwiddie. That's not that hard to figure out.
No, and that's
So
the
why
way
are
it
we-
should be, but that's not the way this road is. We, on Orchard Road, we tax everybody on the right side.
So what county is everybody on the right side in?
Some of them are in Nottoway.
That's the
The
only ones,
majority of them are in Nottoway.
that's the only ones we should be taxing. The other counties should be taxing the ones that's not in Nottoway.
And they are. But some of these people on Orchard Road have been here, have been taxed in Nottoway since before 1930. And just out of the blue, this all came about with the zone, no, I shouldn't say out of the blue, with the redistricting for the voting. And then Prince Edward went out there and started putting 911 markers up. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bowen, because you do live out there, but they started putting 911 markers up. And they made you guys vote in Prince Edward this year, correct?
I got a notice in May.
Right. And because I talked to somebody else who lives on Orchard Road, they made them vote in Prince Edward, but they pay taxes here. So it needs to be fixed.
Well, to answer Bill over there, then why aren't we gaining any? If they gonna gain some, why aren't we gaining some?
Well, that's the,
They went with the road instead of the line.
yeah, they want the road instead of the line.
In other words, the road veered into Prince Edward, and they said everything on the right-hand side was in Nottoway paying taxes. But remember,
They better hope
1930.
don't nobody get upset and challenge that in court. A resident.
They're doing a survey, which I'm
Yeah.
really glad that they're doing that survey because I was not changing anything without a survey. So they're doing a survey. I don't know who's paying for that. I'm assuming.
Prince Edward.
I'm
You're
sure they
paying
are if
for
they're trying
all
to
of
get
We're
a
not
little more
paying for
revenue.
it.
Okay, because see, I wasn't in the know on that because the last time we talked to them, that wasn't even being done.
All right.
And now it's being done, so they're paying for it, so it's going to have to be recorded here, Amelia, and Prince Edward. And
Let's-
then we'll base off of what that survey says.
Let's get to a work session on this. That's what
Yeah,
she-
I
Yeah, that's
totally
why I
agree.
said this is just too
Yep,
much.
I
for a
totally
work
agree.
meeting.
All
Yep.
right, and guys, about that work session too, we have the, Mr.
Landfill.
Ernie Hope coming in. That could be a heavy work session. I don't know if we feel like, how soon do you want to do this, Ms. Hudson? Do you want to do it in February or March?
It's fine. February's
what's-
fine, whenever the next one is. I figure the quicker we start looking into this and getting the new members on board, I mean, I know you and I know
Right.
about it, but the new members need to be on
So the
board and know
13th
exactly what's going
Is
on.
landfill, right?
Yeah, we got the landfill in there, and
So then your 12th, March 12th.
so is March 12th okay, or is that too far out for you?
So, let me check, but I think that should be okay.
Okay.
We'll put it on March 12th, and when you call me and let me know what you
Yeah,
think. Okay.
that's fine, because they're still surveying up until April, so nothing's gonna
okay.
happen before March.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good night.
You do the same.
Thank you. And we'll put her on first and
Yeah, we'll do
schedule
that.
the first hour for her, and then if something else comes up, we can
She'll
put it on
probably
the
get it
back
done in
end.
30 minutes, John, we'll shoot for it.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Got that now. Okay. Ms. Watrous.
He said you stole his pen.
I did, I gave it back.
next few years.
Mhm.
One update, I did submit information for the packet. After I submitted those numbers, some of the individuals in county admin said the numbers might not be exactly correct. I felt like I needed to submit some numbers because the board has been waiting a couple of months for this. And it hasn't been
Ms.
done.
Waters, if you don't mind, we've got you down for that under unfinished business.
I did
In
not
5,
realize that.
and as well as new business for victim witness. Does the board want to, I didn't know if you had something different you wanted to address now, but we have you there on the unfinished business and new business as well. So did y'all want to go ahead and hear this? Because we,
I think excuse me, Ms. Walters, but I think the compensation she's speaking of is I-5.
correct, correct.
You might not have known that, but it's on.
Yeah, so.
No, I don't have a copy of either.
Right, so we would have to jump ahead of
Okay.
4 other things, and if while you're here, you want to talk about that, we'll go ahead and address I-5 and J5 while you're here then.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you let me know what I-5 and
Yeah.
J5
All
are?
right,
since I
all right,
don't
right
have
now,
agenda?
the I-5 is for the compensation for the Commonwealth's attorney.
Yes. So that is what I came to the board about in November. Board wanted numbers, understandably. I had been under the, I guess, misunderstanding that the county was working on that, and so, and then December, that was asked for. And so I think it was last week I called over to county admin, and the folks I talked to didn't know what I was talking about. So I tried to use the numbers that I had. I was then told, well, it may or may not be right numbers, but they couldn't meet with me until the week of your board meeting in February. So I've presented what I could, because it's been a couple months that the board is waiting for numbers, but I've been told that they may not be accurate.
All right, Ms. Waters, if I may, I'm trying to get what I've got here. I just highlighted a couple of things here that was put in the package from November the 8th. The new salaries and increases on the proposal would be, there was some numbers there.
Yes, and those were higher than the numbers I submitted this time because taking into account the difference in the fringe benefits.
Okay.
So I reduced that by a couple hundred, I think, per salary.
Right, yes, ma'am. All 5 of them were reduced it
Yes.
by exactly 200. Okay. All right, then all right, January 12th, the letter that you sent, where the number said it was a compensation board for $4,700 and the part-time position $2,700. But when I took them off, it came, it's only $100 off, but those other numbers was 48 instead of 47 and 28 instead of 27.
Okay, that's probably a math error on my
Okay.
part. Let's go with the 47 and the 27. That gives a little bit more
Okay.
of that buffer.
Okay. All right, well, and I'm sorry, I was just trying to get those numbers clear.
It's very possible. I was
Okay.
trying to do that very quickly to get in the packet because I didn't want another month to go by.
Okay.
So.
So I guess what do you want? I mean, I guess.
Short and sweet of it is, the comp board changed how much they are reimbursing for a couple of the positions. They did targeted salary increases, and then they did their percentage increases.
Okay.
I'd like the county to pass on the extra money we didn't expect to get from the comp board for me to apply to my people.
Okay.
That's what I'm asking.
I thought she was gonna say apply to that radio bill.
Yeah, put it on, yeah. Okay, all right, so there was a couple of things, all right, and as I go through here, and this goes back to January 10th, where you were talking to the office. You were talking about the error, where y'all may have been working on, but you were addressing that. Tried to run some quick numbers myself, and I think these will work. Believe the total increases, annual base will be less than 25,000. Okay. This total number, all right, so comes up to 22,000, but you said use the one lesser, so that would basically be 21,500 then, if I'm reading this right. Then
Where you at, John?
I've got some emails.
Oh, okay,
here that
okay,
was between. And you're looking for the board to do this like now, make this retroactive or something, or?
I mean, I had tried to meet with the former interim county administrator about it and then bring it up for the November meeting to go into effect December. So I would like it to be now. I did some of my numbers as if it were retroactive, which also gives more buffer if the county decided to do it now rather than retroactive, which I know would be a lot less work for your finance and payroll people if it was not retroactive. I just didn't want it to keep getting kicked down the road. I wanted the board to have numbers and look at it.
Right, and mentioning the numbers, so when I read this, and I guess what I'm looking at here, it looks like the staff is trying to get you some answers now, but there may have been some holdup, Ms. Presley, and just for the board, because I don't know that y'all had this, so I'll read this to be fair, because I'm fumbling along here. So I'll read
Mr.
this.
Rourke, how long ago is that?
This was January 12th.
Okay.
That was just a couple of days ago. It was Logan, Haley Ann, after looking at all the information that you have provided, this information will not be able to be completed in time for the next board meeting, especially since auditors are here next week and we are tying up end of the year reporting submissions. After looking at the information that you have provided, it does seem as though the county would be paying to cover the difference in some of the fringe benefits costs for the employees. For example, they stated that they cover 2.13 for retirement, but we pay 2.14 for retirement. There's also a difference in the group life coverage that they mentioned versus the county pays out. I'm sorry, this is not the answer you were hoping for, but as I mentioned on the phone Wednesday, we are having to do everything longhand and do not have the necessary information provided to us, which is making things difficult and making it take longer than it should. So basically, in that email, she's telling you that she does not, that it couldn't be completed because according to the information that you provided, it appears that the county would have some cost and that they didn't have the necessary information available, which I'm
not sure why that would be. That's why I reached out to the compensation board to ask them specifically, what were we eligible for reimbursement with salaries and fringe benefits before? What are we eligible for salary and fringe benefits now? What I took Ms. Presley's email to be is that it wouldn't be one-to-one. So if I took my initial request in November, if I took, okay, they're giving us $23,013 more towards salaries. If we put those all towards salaries, the county would have to then be paying some additional money towards fringe benefits, which is why those salary numbers came down to compensate for that additional fringe benefit amount.
okay.
Less that the county would have to pay
So,
for the fringe benefit.
right, that's why I reduced
Right,
the
I see what
salary
you're saying.
amount so that the county as a whole would not have to pay anything additional than what was budgeted. It's just some of the money would go more towards fringe
right.
versus salary.
All right, well, all right, so, and this is, Ms. Chandler sent this on Tuesday, the 16th. And she sent this to Ms. Watchers here. I understand you would like to submit your department's salary increase request to the board at the upcoming BOS meeting. However, because your request is in addition to the comp board increases, your calculations may be inaccurate by more than your planned margin of error. I suggest waiting until Logan and I have fully completed the computations. There's no need to provide misinformation, especially since Logan and I have yet to have the opportunity to fully calculate the appropriation required for the county's portion from the initial comp board salaries and fringe benefits increases. We want the board to have the correct information to make an informed decision on the figures presented, which requires the finance department's analysis. Your patience and understanding are greatly appreciated. Logan and I continue to work on this matter. So I guess I understand clearly what you're asking. Part of your reply to her was, I would argue that this is not in addition to the compensation board increases. And clearly, like you stated earlier, you've been trying to get assistance from the county or this fall and have been under the impression that the county administrative staff was working on this since November meeting. May I ask you, who gave you that impression? Because we don't want things falling through the crack.
The board.
The board.
That was my takeaway. And that may have been a misunderstanding in November. I thought December was pretty clear, but again, that's why I went ahead and did what I could to present it.
Okay.
And that's why I started
Just
this with.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the money comes from the state, and then we allocate it back out to her office. And so your goal is to not hit the county budget. for
Zero.
anything, hit zero.
Right, and I think that's your goal as well.
That's her goal as well.
Right.
So we have the same goal,
We have the same goal.
but again, we don't have the numbers.
That appears to be what the
what
staff
staff
is
is
saying.
saying?
Yeah.
So the staff needs, with the audit going on, needs a little bit of time to get the
Yeah.
actual number.
Right.
Actual numbers, I should say.
Yeah, so if they're working on this, how long is that audit going on?
Today was the last day.
Today was the last day?
Yeah, but we still got to find things and search for things that they found, so.
Right, through the audit, okay.
The longer this takes, is it the less these employees are gonna get?
That also would ultimately be up to the board on, to be
Well, it's the
blunt, you would-
same amount of money, but it might just be divided over 10 months instead of 12 months.
But they still get all of it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's not as significant that anything be done right at the present moment?
Right.
As it could be, as if they were losing any money, they're not gonna lose any.
The money's come from the state for her office.
And they're gonna get it all?
Yes.
We just don't want
Yes,
any to cost the
yes, sorry, I
county?
had to think that through for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no need to make it retroactive because that money stays the same. That's right, no,
Divided.
right. Yeah, because if you needed to, in other words, like say that if it was a situation where the state is holding the money, say, well, unless you make it retroactive, it's only from this date on. But as far as you can make it back, I believe was December
The county's getting that
1st.
money right now. Because the county supplements most of the positions,
Mm-hmm.
the county's already getting the money. The comp board has not held that back,
Okay.
basically. This is not that, you know, you have to give the raise or you're going to be in trouble
We
with
just
the
need to get the
state that we were
split
dealing
right.
with earlier.
Right, okay.
Is there anything we can do tonight that allows
No, I mean,
administration to handle this once?
I
we-
would say it is, providing they get the actual numbers when they finish the audit.
right, yeah,
I think Steve could go forward with it if we can say, yeah,
We need adequate.
after we get through the actual numbers, Steve, and you
But they
get these
don't-
numbers
they
for our
don't need to
county
wait a
records.
month.
Just to make sure the numbers are right, have a conversation with Ms. Walters to say, this is which they will get, and then move forward, is what you're saying.
Could we do that?
yeah, but that's,
But not until the numbers are given.
right. So there's no action to take because even if the money's given to her, we can always take that vote next month.
And go and give her the money now, once he gets the numbers to her? once
Yeah.
he-
So we
Oh,
don't have,
okay.
so we don't have to take any action.
I
Right,
got you.
right. There's no
We don't have
action.
to take an action. All right.
I was going by, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Walters had a funny face just now.
I don't know all the rules of local government. I wasn't sure if you could allocate money to my office without a vote.
No, I'm talking about
That
not
was
tonight.
my-
I'm talking about not tonight. It would be next month.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
I got
that
you.
was
Now I
my
know where you're going.
confusion of my
But
face.
so, we got the office has got a lot of homework to do. We'll have a conversation, we say, hey, this is it, and then we'll put that in the board package, the exact numbers, and this is what you was questioning, and you can vote
Right,
for.
yes.
That's good, thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Did you want to address the other?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am, while you're here, this is the, I guess I could, while we're flipping over to that one, which is, guys, that is J5. MOU. Okay. Have y'all read the copy of the MOU? It's on the back page of that. If you have not, we'll take a minute. And then, Ms. Waters, was there anything you wanted to add?
You have an MOU?
Yeah,
'Cause I have.
so they're looking at the January 11th.
Okay, the letter.
Yeah. My understanding, that's a letter to DCJS. That has to be done first before we develop a MOU, is that, am I
I would
right?
say, actually, it would be the other way around, that there would be an MOU, and that would be a letter that would then get sent to DCJS to let them know that the board has done this. It's really just, realistically, the CA's office has been supervising and managing. To be compliant with the grant, if you're going to delegate any sort of signature authority to anybody else or someone else to handle stuff with that grant, who's not one of the 3 that are signed on the Statement of Grant Award, it's supposed to be in writing.
Would that be easier if you drafted the MOU since you know those specifics on it and then?
I don't mind doing that. I have broached the subject with different folks who have come and gone from county administration for the last year and a half. And so just in the last couple days, it was, can you get this done for tonight? And I had a first-degree murder and arson trial today, so quite frankly, the MOU was not my priority over the last couple of days, so I was not able to draft that for tonight.
Okay. All right, but you're saying you can?
I can just take the letter and turn it into something. I just truly had not had any time
Okay.
to do it.
Well,
The problem that I'm worried about is interviews have taken place for the position. At the time that interviews took place, we anticipated making a decision, and Susan in County Admin participated in this. We told applicants we planned to make a decision around January 1st, and now we're on January 18th, and no one has heard from us, because I think on paper right now, I do not have the authority to hire.
And you want to meet that grant application, the grant requirements, right?
We want to meet the grant requirements. Ms. Flippin actually graciously came in and filed the report for January that has to be filed, so we're in compliance with the grant because there's no one to do that right now. But the position is sitting open. It means citizens are not getting those services.
Okay, all right, you said enough right there, stop right there. All right, so is it the consensus of this board to have the Commonwealth Attorney have the oversight for the victim's witness advocate position, because I'm all in favor for that?
Should we make a motion to
Should we make a motion?
approve
Do we need to
that?
make a motion for it?
Mr. Chairman, I think it'll be a good way to make the motion, but add into the motion that give the authority to the county administrator to sign the MOU with Ms. Walters as well as the chairman.
Okay.
And then we'll file it and we have it.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion as to what we just heard? Because like, what I was trying to do was we could get the consensus, we could draft a formal motion if that would give you, the consensus would give you enough to do it, and then we could draft a formal motion and have it made retroactive back to tonight at the February meeting.
I just didn't want to offer someone a job that I didn't have the authority to do.
Yep, I can understand that.
That's correct.
Yep. And they're waiting. Whoever you decide, all applicants are waiting since January 1.
Did you have something?
No, I'm looking at it. I just want to make sure I read it correctly.
Did something jump
Steve,
out
what did
at
you say again? Make,
No.
Oh, okay.
Good.
I'm
I just
sitting
want to make
there.
sure I read it correctly. That's what I was saying.
If you make a motion that,
Let the admin,
that the admin would have the authority to sign the MOU after Ms. Walters gives it to us, as well as the chairman, and then assign this letter to DCGS,
along with the chairman.
along with the chairman.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
There you go, that's how I did that.
There's a what he said motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment on that?
Yes, ma'am.
After the vote? This appears that we still need a lot of work on our hiring practices and policies. We need to get a lot in place.
Get it
So
fixed.
we don't.
You on the
this
personnel committee,
happen
ain't you?
again.
Excellent, girl.
Right, I'm making notes.
All right. And thank you for that. Yes, I think all the committees know that we got a lot of work ahead of us. So thank you.
We're back to.
Thank you all. If that's all, I will be happy.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, now backpedal, and let's go back to unfinished business, the animal shelter update. Did Greg have something on that? Did you have something on that? Or you?
I met with the CARES Committee actually it was the second Wednesday in January, and they are ready to proceed. The gentleman from the town of Burkeville was there, and he's getting the materials together to start the water line, and town of Burkeville has approved $200,000 from their, I don't know the meaning of the acronym, but anyway.
ARPA.
Right. And the CARES Committee has agreed to supplement that with $100,000 if needed. So they've got $300,000 to start working on the water line to the site. Mr. Bowen attended the meeting with me, and he can fill in when I don't say. But they are requesting that the architect arrange a meeting with the architect to go line by line item on the things that are to be in the shelter and see where costs could be lowered. Also to see where they have people who are willing to donate certain areas of the shelter, and that would reduce the cost to the county. So once we meet with the architect and go through those line items, we'll see how low we can get the cost, and then find out from CARES the individuals who are willing to donate certain areas in the shelter. Also, Mr. Boswell, who's chair of the CARES committee, said that he has several people who have told him as soon as they break ground in Burkeville, they're going to write a check. So that's going to help also. So it's moving along. It's not going as fast as they would like, but it's faster than it was 5 years ago. So, so we're moving along.
And just to piggyback on that,
Yes.
I think they were, like you said, they're gonna breaking ground for the water line and the sewage, and they're planning to do that by spring. That's what they hope.
Right,
So
yeah.
when I say spring, not May, but somewhere in the neighborhood of March.
Right,
But anyway.
that's right.
And they're hoping that more donations will come in after
Yes.
see the ground breaking, and they know it's gonna happen in Berkeley.
Good deal. All right, well, thank you. Anybody have any questions or anything? All right, we got the subdivision vacation. Mr. Zodi.
Excuse me. What I need from the board tonight is just approval to give me the authority as the authorized agent for Nottoway County to sign this plat of vacation signed by the Morsets. And then I'll record that vacation with Ms. Brown in the clerk's office. That way, this will enable Mr. Morissette to come back with the appropriate plats for me to formally review and sign, unlike 2016.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Section 4-309, vacation of recorded plat. This is in our subdivision book. It references the Code of Virginia 15-2271, and that mentions advertisement. Has this been advertised?
No, 15.22204 would be the public notice for amendments to the zoning ordinance, to the subdivision ordinance, and to the comprehensive plan, or adopting a new plan and whatnot. This particular section is just the vacation part. Unless you have the code in front of you, sir? I don't have that privilege. We did have the council review this and said.
The ordinance shall not be adopted until after notice has been given as required by ordinance of the governing body shown on the plat vacating. Let's just, I'll text you this code.
But this is the plat of vacation. You're looking at the zoning on it.
Well, we gotta follow our ordinances.
Are you looking at I-2?
Is this the one, 15.2-2271?
Yes, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, all right.
Can you repeat that again, Supervisor?
15-2271.
Right, and it says, do you have the code in front of you?
Read it.
Oh, that is the code you're reading, okay.
Mr. Zodi, what were you looking for tonight, sir?
Just a permission for the board to allow me to sign this and record the deed of vacation.
I see what you're saying, but I don't think they're not talking about an ordinance.
What are you calling the deed of vacation? I've not looked at this yet. Is that just for him to come back and to see if he can meet the requirements for the subdivision? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. And what this means is that.
This clears up the neighborhood?
Sorry?
This clears up the issues with the.
With the neighbors that spoke at public hearing a couple of months ago.
Right.
Because they're going to what they're going to do is, what I requested was to help the neighbors get a clean copy of the plat for the 4 lots on Green Hill Road. Then they'll follow up with the parent tract, with the remainder of that property. And they'll have plans for that. That's what I was mentioning earlier during my director's report update. So in 2016, they did not receive approval from the county. They went ahead and recorded it. That's a problem. That's a problem for them.
They being who?
The Morsets at that time, excuse me. But what we have now is we have the 4 properties, each property owner along Green Hill Road owns 2 parcels, one with a house and one vacant. The gentleman came a few months ago to speak about this issue. And this is what this issue is addressing, because we need to bring them into the lawsuit in order for them to remain whole. They're originally brought on as defendants because they're a party to that, but not in collusion. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
But so what what I'm seeking to do is to make this right. And what they'll do is follow through with whatever division they come up with. It changes. So that's all I want to do, and just record it, pay the cost, and seek reimbursement from Ms. Chandler, well, the board, ultimately, for recordation fees. And I can do this tomorrow.
All right, board members, what's your wish?
Need this in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll make the motion to authorize Greg Zodi to sign the deed of plat vacation in regards to Clesson Morset, Sandra B. Morset.
There's two of them.
I got you.
Want to combine them in one or do them
Yes, sir.
separate?
I'll do them by parcel.
That's, I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay, all right.
A motion to give Greg Zodi authority to sign the deed of plat vacation for tax map parcel 33-47F and tax map parcel 33-47.
All right, board members, we have a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I will second it.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
All right, got the next one. Bill?
All right, moving on to the second one.
This one.
We did that. I think we did them both.
Did them both at the same
Did them
time?
both Same number.
Yeah, he just, when he said he was going to do two, he was going to read both numbers.
Oh, I got you. Okay, all right. So that's done.
That's
Yes, sir.
done.
Thank you all very much for that. What I'm handing out now is the River Street, and I'll let Mr. Robert Taylor, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Rob Taylor with River Street.
Appreciate y'all hanging in there with us tonight.
No problem. Good evening, Robert Taylor with River Street Networks, the Director of Business Development and Government Affairs. I also have with me tonight Zach Church. He's our Director of Engineering and Construction.
Excuse me, Mr. Toth?
Yes, sir.
Look at the bottom of the page right there. You won't like that. There you go. Your acronyms.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
So the last time I was here, last month, we had a public hearing about the 3 sites to do a lease. We asked that at that time you approve the possible leases. I was asked to come back because we'd have a new board and everything. Since we have a new board, and I don't think you guys might be up to speed on broadband and what's going on in the state of Virginia, I thought I'd give you a quick view on everything and give you all the acronyms that are out there so that as you hear them, you'll start to understand them. So what I want to start off is just some helpful terms that you'll hear as you go around talking about broadband in the state. So the reverse auction is just the means in which the FCC did funding mechanisms. Reverse auction is they offer up census blocks to internet service providers to provide services, and as the internet service provider said, we're willing to take this amount of money, they would drop it down to another tier. So it was like you start at X, X minus 1, X minus 2, until they got to the clearing round. And once they got to the clearing round, then they would award those funds to those ISPs to build out those census blocks. And that was done in the FCC CAF2 auction, which was a Connect America Fund auction, as well as the RDOF auction, which is the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. Now, the CAF2 auction didn't impact Nottoway County, but RDOF did. And I'll have some maps later on to show you how that, what did happen there. As the pandemic hit, the definition of broadband changed. It was 25 and 3, but now it's 100 by 20. And what we mean by that is 100 megs of service down with 20 megs of service up. And what most people, what I like to do is explain, what it means for 100 megs. So if you were to stream a high definition TV channel, that's typically going to be, standard is 4, high definition is 10, and a 4K is 25. So if you're sitting there watching a 4K TV channel at your home, you're using 25 megs consistently, right? Mm-hmm. So with the pandemic, the need to be able to do remote learning, remote training, remote teleworking, and everything else, the need for bandwidth went up significantly, and that's why the definition got changed from 25/3 to 100/20, and that's also why the amount of funding that came down from the federal government increased dramatically as well. So the main thing is that here in Virginia, that funding typically goes through what we call VATI. That's the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative, and that's overseen by the Department of Housing and Community Development, which is DHCD, okay? That VATI funding impacted you all because we took some of the money that we got from RDOF, combined it with money that we brought in and money that you guys used from your ARPA funds, and pulled that together to get a VATI grant to build out more locations, and I have a map showing that as well. What the last term is BEAD. That's the next big amount of funding that's coming down from the feds. That is going to be, it's a $45 billion national fund. $1.4 billion of that is coming to the state, and the state's going to run that through their VATI program as well. So with that, I'll go into the presentation of how it impacts Nottoway County. So back in about 2018, 2019, there was an order-off auction. In Nottoway County, there were 3 winners. CenturyLink won a 278 census blocks, and that was to pass 1,743 locations. The other winner was SpaceX. Now, SpaceX later got defunded by the FCC. But fortunately, the state of Virginia, DHCD, decided at the time that this RDOF announcement was made that satellite technology, even though it was low orbit satellite technology, was not a proven technology, and they weren't going to allow the citizens of Virginia to be fed with just satellite service. So what they did is they allowed ISPs to say, we're willing to take over SpaceX's obligation if you're willing to provide us funding. So what we did, we took over SpaceX's obligation, which was 644 locations, as well as our 445 locations, and put that together into a VATI application back in 2022. Now, in 2022, the public fund that the state had was $50 million, but when ARPA came down, they had an additional $700 million that they put into that fund. So of that $700 million, some of that funding came to Nottoway to help build out these 1,089 locations that I'm talking about. On the next map, you'll see the 445 RDOF locations that were awarded to River Street. Now, I wanted to show you the maps because when I was up here last time, there was a gentleman who was asking me about the orange.
Yes, sir.
The orange duck, and wanted to make sure that we weren't overbuilding the location that was already going to be built. And when you look at the maps, you'll see that CenturyLink is in the northwest corner of the county, and we have the northeast corner as well as the southwest corner. So again, the 445 RDOF location is going to River Street. Then after that, you'll see a map showing the 644 locations going to SpaceX, which we added to our application. And that shows you on the next map, you'll see where the 1,089 locations are that we're building as part of the VATI 2022 grant award, okay? And then I give you an overview. The following map is an overview of what that grant award looks like. And basically, it's 1,089 locations. It's about 131 miles of fiber. Total project cost is just under $7 million. River Street is bringing in 1.7. We're bringing in about $250,000 in RDOF funding. The county was using $1,020,000 of ARPA funding. That money's got to be spent by 2026, or there's a clawback from the feds. And then we were able to take our money, the RDOF, as well as your matching funds, and get an additional almost $4 million from the state to build out those 1,089 locations. Now, this is a complete fiber to the home, so there'll be fiber from our remote centers, our data huts, out each of the roadways, and then from there, once customers call to add service, there'll be fiber drops from our fiber theirs to their homes, okay?
Where's the data hut? Is that in this packet too?
That's in the packet.
Okay.
That's what
All
we're
right.
here to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to do to kind of explain to you, because you saw the orange fiber.
Yes, sir.
That's the next map. That's the CenturyLink, which I guess is now BreezeNet, right?
Right.
So that's 1,745, Brightspeed, there you go.
Yep.
They keep changing their name, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's 1,745 locations. And as you can see, they kind of have, the one quadrant kind of comes down to the middle. So between us and them, you're looking at what, just over 2,900 locations or so, right, to be built out. Now, we know that that's not all the county. And we know that we worked with the county here recently to do a VATI 2024 applications to add more sites. And the reason why that continues to happen is every time we go to a funding round, we have to base off what's the definition of broadband. When we went for 25 and 3, anybody who had 25 and 3 service was served, they weren't fundable. When they changed the definition to 100 by 20, now everybody who had 25 and 3 but didn't have 100 by 20 now are considered servable, so that added more locations. At the same time this was going on, the federal government realized that they couldn't go by census blocks anymore. And what I mean by that is, if you look back where Mr. Church is sitting, if he has service because he's the last house on that cable TV route, but he's considered by the federal government to be in the same census block as we are, then they consider this whole block served. And so even though he is the only one in this block that is getting the service, none of us could get any funding to get service because this area was served according to the FCC maps. So they changed the maps and they said, we're going to get away from blocks and we're going to go to rooftop addresses. And so that's what they've been doing. So that's where, if you go to, right now, you look at the Virginia State broadband page, they're going to talk about bead maps. And the bead maps are basically rooftop addresses that are supposedly served, not served, or funded or not funded. That's where that $1.4 billion is supposed to be spent, is on any location that is not served by 100 by 20 or has not been funded to get to 100 by 20. So anyway, this is what I have for you is with the 2023 project, looks like we got an additional 851 locations. So 2022, we have 1,089. We added an additional 851 locations in 2023. So currently, River Street is building out approximately 2,000 locations. It's going to build about 240 miles of fiber. Total project cost is about $12 million. So the next page I have is a timeline on what we're looking at. This timeline is contingent on us being able to get the lease agreements. The lease agreements are for the data hut locations that we need to start the fiber build. So the 3 data hut locations that we're talking about are all owned by the county, and that's the following pages that we have here. And these are the pages, same pages I brought last month, kind of showing you each location. This is basically a 50 by 50 parcel for us to put a 12 by 20 precast concrete building on a concrete slab with an easement from the parcel back out to the roadway to where we can get into the VDOT right-of-way along those roads to feed the fiber. We prefer to bury our fiber because once you put it in the ground, it's less likely to get damaged. You're less likely to have any issues with, weather impacting it and so on and so forth. So what we're hoping is, since the public hearing has gone on, I don't think there were any negative comments or anything from there. What we're liking to do is have you all, if possible tonight, go on and approve the county administration to sign the lease agreements once the county attorney has finalized their drafts between our attorney and their attorney. Now, I don't know
Did you
how
see the
close
letter?
they are.
Have you seen the letter from our attorney?
Have I seen? Yes, sir. I've been seen. Yeah, there's been several drafts going back and forth. Yes, I think they're very close to actually. To
Well, our attorney had suggested that we deed it to you, and not be a lease.
I'm I'm sorry?
Our attorney suggested that we deed this to and that there not be a lease. Did you see that letter?
I did not.
He's requesting that we sell it to you for a small amount of money opposed to, like he said, leasing it to you.
You got $1?
$1, something cheap.
Yeah,
It will lessen our liability, is what it'd do.
yeah.
You'll own it, we won't have nothing to do with it.
I don't understand, I personally don't see a reason why that isn't possible, but I'm not our attorney or the CEO of the company. But I understand, and I've seen that happen at other locations.
I was gonna ask that. You have?
Yeah, so, we've done $1 leases, right? But if it's something where the county feels like instead of you owning it, you'd rather us own
Well,
it.
you've asked for indemnity and, you know,
I think we've asked for indemnity for both parties, right?
but you're gonna be operating on our land. So if it's your land, then it's your liability,
Understand?
right?
Well,
But anyway, I think what we're asking for is for you all to give the okay for the county administrator or his staff to sign the leases or the
Be a
contracts
conveyance, it'd be a deed.
or the deed, once the the attorneys work out the details. Again, as soon as we get those properties secured, then we can start, getting the construction underway.
Well, I think maybe some of the deed preparation and everything ought
Well, we
to,
need to have a contract
that's right.
and then a deed.
Get that done fairly quickly.
So can we give the
Because
county?
my folks want the internet.
Can we give the administrator the authority to seek the documentation we need to move forward with, instead of a lease agreement, deeding these sites, and then, so they can move forward?
Does that need to be in a motion, or is that a,
no, you can give them the consensus of the board, and then, yeah.
you want, go ahead?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, before you go that further, I just want to clear something with Mr. Zodi and this gentleman, Robert. So, as he started his presentation now, let's be careful. Let's don't drag our feet too long where we can't spend the ARPA money that we've appropriated, okay?
Right.
Because you don't spend it, you lose it.
That's right.
Right.
2026.
Okay.
That's
2026. I just didn't want this thing to keep on snowballing.
But hence, that's giving you the permission to go move forward, so we can
Okay.
move this along, and then
Good.
you can move forward
But
with
the
it.
land is somewhat of a small issue on them putting it in their name, deeding it to their name, paying us a small fee for it.
Gotta
Obviously,
have a
they'd have to
public
have a
hearing.
recorded deed
Yeah,
if they own it.
I don't think you can just deed over
you gotta have a
county-owned
public
land
hearing.
without a public hearing. That's my point I'm trying to tell you. I hear you with the liability, but you could slow the
That makes
process
sense.
up. What if somebody else comes in here in the public hearing, you're listening to them, that's what we're supposed to be doing, and then all of a sudden they say, you're not sounding, now another 3 months has gone by. So that's
Well, we've had a-
my concern. That's
We've
all.
had a public hearing in
Yeah.
regards to leases. And
Yeah,
so
but
now
when
this
you-
would be a second public hearing in regards to sale of county property.
Right.
And you gotta advertise 2 weeks for that, ahead of time. So as soon as, I guess, we could do a
and
public
if-
hearing next month, but we could also give him the authority to execute a lease in the meantime. And then once the deed, if we do the public hearing and do the deed, we just switch it over.
We can reverse
From a
revert
lease to
from
a deed.
lease to
So is
deed.
it gonna be a 30-day lease? It needs to be a short-term lease under the advisement of the attorney, correct? He wanted to sell it to him.
They've already looked at the leases,
Right.
and so these leases have been, with the notes from our attorney to their attorney, can be,
Well, if both sides and the attorneys agree to vacate the lease agreements after the public hearing, then we can deed it to them. Right, okay.
That sound good?
I know what you just want to go to work. We
You got a
want you to go to
timeframe
work.
you gotta
Jay.
get it done by, to get it funded. I understand.
The folks in my district want him to go to work. I'm one of them.
so the motion is to, after approval by the attorney, the county administrator can, or the consensus?
Yeah.
Consensus, right?
Yeah, we can do a consensus now and work towards that lease execution. And also, we can go ahead and set a public hearing for the deed of the land to them. And we can do that public hearing in February. But in the meantime, execute a lease.
Is that suitable to you?
All right, wait a minute, if he's going to execute a lease, we do need a motion.
But I want to see if it's good with him before we make the motion, see what I'm saying?
Do we
Is that
have
okay
to
with you?
offer?
He's not sure about the deed part, 6 weeks from now.
Yeah, no, I just need to know if, I need to come back for the public hearing when that's gonna be, so I can make sure I'm back here. In the meantime, I'll confirm whether or not, for some reason, River Street has heartburn with paying a small fee to deed over those
$1,
properties, right?
$10, whatever.
Yeah.
The,
But, you know, again, me personally, I don't know why we would, but that's not something I don't think we've done in the past. But I'll pass that on tomorrow to the CEO and let them know, hey, we've got a lease agreement in place that we're going to utilize so we can start moving this project forward. If for some, and I'm assuming.
it was strictly on the advice of our attorney in
Yeah,
regards to liability.
I'm assuming that if and this is what I'm wondering, so we get into the public hearing for the deeding, and there's a huge uproar.
I don't think there will be.
No.
Are we gonna,
They- they in favor of you coming.
are we gonna say, all right, we'll fall back to the leases then, and we'll just
Yes.
lease it? Okay,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lease will already be in place, and if the
Okay.
lease is only a short-term lease, we can extend it to 30 years.
Yeah, because we want it for the citizens.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's my concern, is that, you know, if for some reason the public hearing goes sideways, we still have the lease, so
That's
that
correct.
I can get the engineering guys, because they won't,
You're going to work.
yeah.
That's where we're headed.
But we don't want him to fall back on that, whoever you're going to talk to and say, hey, we got it, guys. We don't have to buy it if you think it's more liability for us because we got a lease and they told us. Don't do that to us.
No.
'Cause we want you to
I
own
just
it.
want to make sure, I just want to make sure that when I leave tonight, I can let them know, we've got the properties, they prefer we do a deed, they're going to do a lease, and as long as the deed is approved by the public hearing next week, then we have to transfer it.
Is a dollar amount in the lease? Is it any kind of dollar amount in the lease? No kind of dollar amount in the lease?
No, and that draft lease, the attorneys, as I understand, the attorney's good with that draft lease, so.
I was just thinking, would the attorney still be good with it?
Well, we need to.
If they got
we
the
need to-
option to go back and just say we're gonna lease it, we're not gonna buy it because we don't wanna buy it, then we need to get some.
Well, we have the same issues that, so as a board, you have to just be comfortable with not accepting your attorney's advice.
That's right.
Not accepted what, I couldn't hear you.
Your attorney's advice?
And it happens all the time.
Oh, I agree with that, I understand.
So we need an amount for the lease.
Right, there's no amount, you said, right?
There's no amount to it.
Well,
$10, dollar, whatever.
Or do a dollar a year, a dollar.
I
for
do a
the lease.
land exchange for $10 and a lease for $100,000. That'll give them initiative to get the land. That's what I do. If it was Bo Toke's deal, but it's not. It's Nottoway County's deal.
All right, so board members, I need a motion to have the county administrator execute a lease with a stated amount with River Street Network to allow staff to approve that once the agreement is legally finalized. And what's the amount?
$10.
For how long?
$10 a year,
All right,
20 years.
all right. We're just.
Are we gonna be able to vacate this lease now?
Are we gonna have to add
Oh, yeah.
language to?
The lawyers
to
got to
show
let us-
Yeah,
that
the lawyers
we
will work on that.
Vacate the lease?
Yeah, so once we get the deed approved, to transfer, then we can vacate the lease and then they will own the property.
Yes.
That's right.
Is there any reason we doing a 20-year lease?
That's just,
So we don't have to come back? Is that what you're saying? I mean, because if he's gonna own it, they don't need no,
well, no, that's
this
just
is-
so they
that's
can
just
go
the
to work
language that's
until
in
we
here.
get
Do
the
you want
public
to do-
hearing.
This is so he can get started.
You want to do you want to do a 1 year?
that's what I'd like to do. I'd rather see it be done a shorter term. That would give them more initiative to wanna own that land
Go
and
ahead
say
and
we
do
got
it.
it,
Right.
yeah.
All right, whoever wants to make the motion.
All right, well, y'all heard it. It's need a motion to allow, what you gonna say?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to speak one more time, so. You got to put your feet in the owner's shoes for a minute. If you're saying a year's lease, and he don't, and out the gate, this gentleman does not know. If you do a year's lease, and the company owner says, man, I'm not into buying the land. He's not going to put a good building up and knowing he only got a year's lease. I wouldn't put a building up for a
But we're
year's
talking
lease.
about a 20 by, a 12 by 20.
Okay, so you think it'd be okay? It's going to be all right?
No, I mean, because the building,
It's gonna be coming in there on the road tractor. If it's a 12 by 20, y'all ain't building nothing. They gonna deliver.
No, that's, the deal is that the building is a minor part of the cost.
The equipment.
The equipment And all that fiber, you're talking 381 miles of fiber have to go terminate into 3 buildings. Once we set those buildings, we don't want to pick them up. Even though we can pick them up and move them. But when we put that stuff in there, we're talking, this is a 50-plus year network, right? So that's why when we typically look at these, we're looking at a 99-year lease.
What sort of time frame to start to finish? These 1,800 and whatever numbers you give us?
Well, I would think that it's probably a 2-year, at least a 2-year project. How long does it take us to start setting the buildings? All that depends on how quickly.
The next question is, when do you lose that funding? What do you have to have done before that funding be lost?
So the deal is that we have to have the federal funds spent before the end of 2026.
So you
Right, so if we go in there and we've got so much of federal funding, we're gonna try to draw that down as quickly as possible, so if for some reason we run long. But right now, what's happening is typically with the VADI, if I go out and do $500,000 worth of work, VADI will give me $250,000, part of it's gotta come from me, and part of it's gotta come from you. They're not gonna pay out more than 50% at a time. I don't know how much of that $3.9 million that VADI gave us is federal funds and how much is state funds. We have to assume it's all federal funds.
If the attorney is worried about it being a liability reason, is the reason that he wants to, them own the land opposed to leasing it to them, and they exercise the right to continue to lease the land, can't we impose some sort of insurance that they would have to carry that would protect us?
Well, I think Steve, I think
His letter says mutually, additionally insured,
yeah, the indemnity.
both parties.
Yeah. Now, I think, I'm sorry, I said Steve, I mean Mr. Vaughn, may have something that.
Mr. Vaughn.
Bowen, I said Bowen.
Oh, you said Steve, then I thought you said Mr. Vaughn.
Yeah.
I am a
I
pile.
like to call him by his last name, not his first. Because a lot of times when I call him by his first name, it ain't Steve. All right, so he made a suggestion that we go ahead, for the sake of the investors, to go ahead and do the 20-year lease for $10 with the option to buy. And that way, we can hold a public hearing, deed the land, and y'all buy it for whatever, $1 a piece or something like that.
Mr. Chairman, Zach, I think is his name, looks like he's about to come out of his seat back there.
Well.
And I don't know his role compared to Rob.
He's the Director of Engineering and Construction. So he's the guy that makes it happen.
Oh, he got a long title.
Yeah.
I would just say a lot of counties we see, they are partial sizes that you're able to deed off. So that may be an issue if we go looking at a smaller lease. That would have to be something that may be changed as well. Typically, we do want to lease these properties just so we don't have to get into the property taxes and all that side of things.
We don't mind you getting into the taxes.
It's such a small piece, things like that. But I think it is something we could explore, but I just didn't want to bring that up.
Yeah, that's a concern. Your zoning, will your zoning allow you to have a 50 by 50
They'd have to have
lease?
variances on it, I'm sure. If they gonna own it, they put a building on it, a structure.
You got a survey.
Now, there are certain things in the zoning ordinance where they are building an actual plant or whatever, they can put a smaller unit in there, it doesn't necessarily do the public hearing process, like you would say a sewer plant or something like that, a public utility.
Oh, public.
So this would be just a structure on the site and you're leasing it, or purchasing it, whatever the wind blows on, or whichever way the wind blows on this. But it's commonly done for like cell towers and stuff. You might have a 10 by 10 site or something like that where you have the equipment and all that. That's between the landowner.
I've seen those being sold too.
And the agent, and the folks who are doing the work. So, that's I've never seen a purchase out of that.
Do y'all want to go ahead and do the lease so they can get moving on this?
Because we don't want to lose the citizens' ARPA money.
That's right. So we want to go ahead and get moving on this, and then we can always move forward with any discussions of deeding the property at a
Yeah,
later
the only
time.
thing we ask is just make sure if it's a 20-year lease that we have at least, the ability to have, multiple extensions. If there's something that goes wrong.
What was this one here?
Yeah,
I'm
it
sorry.
does, it probably does, but I think that might be,
$10.
With 3 20-year renewal periods.
There you go. All right. So while you on that page right there, do you want to make a motion to have the county administrator execute that lease for those
3 sites.
3 sites with those conditions. Or you can simply make the motion with the lease agreement, with the, oh my God, I'm sitting here fumbling.
River Street.
7 o'clock.
Yes.
I'll make the motion that the county administrator execute the lease with River Street for the 3 sites in regards to installation of broadband on ground owned by Nottoway County. It's the intention of the county to then sell that land at a later date after public hearings.
I'll second that motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Just let me know when I need to come back, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next time, it won't be so much spaghetti. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. The Equalization Board recommendations.
Okay, I have a recommendation. Mr. Lee Simmons of Simmons Monument and Simmons.
He's a real estate agent. Lee
Yes.
Simmons, Signature Realty.
Signature Realty, yes. And he's agreed to serve.
Good
Okay,
dude.
That is good.
All right, you gonna put that, you put that in the form of a motion to be pushed over to the judge?
Yes, I will move,
Recommendation, yes.
I'll move that the board recommend Mr. Lee Simmons to serve on the Equalization Board.
All right, can I get a second?
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, number 6, VDH funding and services agreement.
Mr. Chair, Matt Claybrook, he visited me from the Virginia Department of Health. And I think you needed some more information, the board did. It's a pretty standard agreement that is mandated by the state. And if you look at the email I-6 at the top, the local commitment went down for us, but you don't have a choice with that commitment. That is mandated by the state. And I think we're the last county to have signed the agreement, and last year we were pretty slow on it. So I would like to get that done so we could meet the state guidelines.
All right, so tonight you need a motion to approve.
To approve the funding and service agreement from the Virginia Department of Health.
All right, someone want to put that in motion?
I move that we approve the funding for the Virginia Department of Health and Services Agreement.
All right, can I get a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, new business. Ms. Norton, you have a library appointment. Well, wait a minute. I believe you said you wanted to serve the remainder, is that correct?
Yes. One of the library board trustees resigned, and the term expires July 31st. We have reached out. I've been working with Jackie with the library system and several of the board members, and the difficulty is the meetings are at 10 o'clock in the morning. So our pool, and since this is live and on public, if we have anyone that would like to serve on the library board, the meeting is once a month. I will serve in that position until the term expires, and then we can reappoint when that comes up for reappointment. We can try to find someone to fill that spot.
All right, board members, I need a motion to approve to appoint Ms. Norton to the library board for the unexpired term that currently exists.
I'll make that motion.
All right, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Social services appointment, Ms. Norton.
One moment.
Mhm.
On the library board of trustees, I'm showing District 5 is expired, 12/31/2022.
Wait a minute, I think didn't they reappoint her?
Susan Nash?
I can't recall if they did or not. They must have.
So just need to update the report.
Yeah, maybe, we'll check on that.
Is it Jake too?
Yes, with J1. J1, that's Ms. Susan Nash, check on her appointment, make sure it's still active. Okay. All right, and again, Ms. Norton, the social services appointment?
Carrie Gravely has graciously accepted to be reappointed to that position.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Wonderful board member over there, just full of knowledge with her integration in the school system and everything. So, Ms. Norton, I'm assuming you were putting that in the form of a motion to reappoint Carrie Gravely to the
sir.
Social Services Board. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The Planning Commission reappointments.
Timmy?
Yes, sir.
The two members that will be coming, their terms expire, I believe it's next month, Ms. Kelly. It's Jeff Lavelle and then Frankie Williamson.
All right, and Jeff was one of my appointments, and board members, I cannot make a motion as the chair, but I would strongly recommend and would be in favor if someone would make the motion to reappoint Mr. Lavelle.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Have we confirmed that they're accepting?
I have with Jeff. His arm will be better in a little bit, but it's healing from my twisting it. But he will, Frankie wasn't in attendance at our last meeting, so I'll
That's
give
right,
him
he
a
wasn't.
call. But both of them have served faithfully, and I think.
He's not till the end of March, so we can.
Yeah, so we're good till next time on him.
That's right. Yeah, we'll just put that on unfinished business for next month, and just let us know whether or not he'll accept, and
Okay.
we'll take care of that from there.
All right, thank you.
All right, the board appointments, CARES, LECP, and CLEO.
I would like to serve on the CARES if that's agreeable with everyone else.
Absolutely.
I would be in full support of that. If somebody wants to put,
I'll make a motion that Dickie Ingram represent the Board of Supervisors with the CARES group.
I second.
all right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the LECP, which one was that? Third Wednesday, bi-monthly. All right, I'm out. Bo would be out, because that's on a Wednesday as well. 3:30 p.m. Let's see. Does someone want to volunteer for that, Dan?
Is that with Mr. Hyde? I'll volunteer.
LEPC?
Yes, sir. Someone.
Just got to tell me what the initials mean. Gotcha.
I'll make the motion for Dickie Ingram to be on the LEPC.
And what did that stand for?
Whatever he said, local. I didn't hear you, buddy.
I had to do that. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Then the CLEO, and where did Greg go? I was going to make him pull it. I was going to see what that.
Cleo?
Yeah, what that.
You need him?
Yeah, see, that's quarterly, January, April, June, July, and October.
You need him, Johnny said?
No.
Is that soil and water conservation?
That's what it looks like.
I did that, but I'm not exactly sure. I know SC does the soil water conservation.
And it's on Fridays at 9 a.m. That takes me
That's
out.
tough.
Does a board member have to go to that?
That's what I don't know. That's the one thing I don't know.
Take that spot.
All right, well, we'll check on that. So if we can bring that back.
Add that to continuing business.
Yeah,
next time.
unfinished business
Yeah.
as well, yeah. And in the meantime, we'll see about Steve being on that. Okay. The victim witness, I'm moving on, guys. The victim witness MOU, we've taken care of that. The Loggers Association tax status.
Daphne, did she give you some math on?
Yes.
what
Miss-
the-
I reached out to Christy Hudson, and she gave us a roundabout number of 15,000. It's not a big volume. It's not a lot of revenue that we'd lose. And from doing a little research, this is standard practice in all the counties around us or across the state to give this tax exemption to loggers. And Christy did make the comment that a lot of times the loggers don't even submit all of this. So there's no real way to go out and check it out.
I see that they say that the Virginia General Assembly, under Code 58.1-350.5, it says farm machinery and farm implements other than farm machinery and farm implements described as, it doesn't say anything in there as far as logging, which is different than farm implement. And listening to, say, other localities may have given them exemption in the taxes, I'd be curious as to how that was asked, because it's easy to mistake the two.
That's right. Because it's a tractor.
It's a non-titleable vehicle, or a skidder is a non-titleable piece of equipment as well, but
It does specify it shall include equipment and machinery used for forest harvesting and silvicultural
If you look at the first paragraph, it says, the state tax option of exempting off-road logging equipment from county tax requirements.
Off-road.
Off-road. So that limits it.
Right, in other words, like the tractor trailers and stuff like that.
That's on road.
They're on road.
They have
They'd
to
have to
pay.
pay
I
tax.
think it's mainly pertaining to tree cutters, skidders,
That's right,
knuckle booms.
right.
And as she said, I probably, not too many of them report them anyhow.
All right, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Lord, y'all, don't beat me up for this, folks. Every piece of revenue you losing right now,
Well, that's what I was thinking at the $15,000.
yeah, you gotta figure out where to make it up at, and so,
I think we ought to put it on unfinished business and
Do some more research.
I think we ought to do some more research, and I think we ought to talk to some loggers, because if it's only $15,000, 15,000 is a whole lot to us, but 15,000 not a whole lot to 10, 12 different loggers spread all of them. And I think we ought to talk to some loggers.
It might just be one of them reported.
all right,
That's true.
Very true. And that'd be very unfair, wouldn't it?
yes, yeah. All right, so if y'all wanna put that on unfinished business, but how do you wanna move forward with, securing the information? Because, I mean, I don't know when, you're looking at a time frame with this. I mean, staff's got a lot on them right now, so I guess, how
So the
fast?
staff won't mind us moving to the side
Not gonna send out the
and
bills
looking
to
at it
what, October?
on the unfinished business. I'd like to talk to a few loggers, and I'd like to get with Christie and see how many loggers report.
Right.
Yeah, and you said that.
Bills don't go out to what, October?
Right.
Sir?
Personal property bills don't go out till
That's
October
exactly
anyway.
right.
Right.
So you got some time.
And this has been going on since July of
The
2020.
only thing that has gone out is where you report the hours and the usage of it, but that may be only a titleable vehicle. That may not be on.
All right, do y'all want to just say, put it on unfinished business, but bring it back to the board's July meeting under unfinished business?
That'd be fine, because that'll give us time to just talk around town a little bit. See.
Right.
And that's after the budget anyway starts its new cycle. The new
Okay,
budget will be in effect July 1.
Okay, that'd be better.
All right?
Okay,
Okay.
So
unfinished.
assuming the information on this, county administrator is going to seek that from Ms. Huston and report back.
Yep. Okay. All right.
List is getting long.
The work session location, I know we had some conversations about that. The system's up and running, right? We can go live over there at the EOC. All right, is that any additional strain on staff rather than being here? Okay.
We're more than happy to do it, we hosted many meetings with some of them, I will say that, right now, the mini split that we have approved is gonna be installed, so right now it's a little cold there, because we had to shut that system down,
That's good.
waiting the system to come down.
Okay.
We're weathering it every day, but I think it'll be done within the next month,
Do you think it'll be ready for the February work session?
second Tuesday,
Uh-huh.
it's gonna be close.
All right, well, why don't we just do this, be safe, just start if we're gonna move over there, let's just start the March work session over there.
That's what I would recommend. I think, and we awarded that to J&J Mechanical. I think he's ordering the item.
Okay.
So
I'm fine with that.
that's in progress. I'd say March is your best bet.
All right, so we can take formal action on that next month.
So we'll meet here for the work session in
Yes, sir.
February.
You with that, Steve?
Yeah.
I mean, Ms. Bowman?
Sir.
All right, consent items. Y'all have that in your packet. I would need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Rourke, Chairman Rourke, you skipped number 8 that you added, ordinance committee.
Yeah, that's on the back end of the different sheet of paper. Watch this, watch this, watch this. I'm magic here. Look at that. There it is. There it is.
He just needs to say thank you, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you for the correction. The committee appointment, I had some conversations with Mr. Collins. He and I are maybe planning on doing some Sunday evenings with other committees that we sat on. And during those conversations, we were talking about the ordinances that need to be addressed, like a blight ordinance, a structure ordinance, Also, anything with animal control, anything that's ordinance related. So since he and I may be meeting on those Sundays and we were having those conversations, he has graciously agreed if this board feels that they would like to go ahead and appoint myself and Mr. Collins to be on an ordinance committee. While we're meeting with that one, we can also start with this.
And y'all will be reviewing the ordinances that we
Well,
have.
this will be investigating, because
Right.
we don't have a blight ordinance.
Right.
We really don't have an animal control ordinance. We've got some rules.
Some language.
On the website.
Yep.
Right.
And here we're gonna have this new animal shelter.
You go out and research and then
Well, I looked-
ultimately come
I
up
looked
with an
out at-
ordinance.
well, I looked at a couple counties, and then, in the code of Virginia, it says that we could just adopt state code.
That's right.
That'd be pretty easy, but then that's a lot of things that we probably
Right.
not do.
Right.
I think it's a good idea.
So that part is really just investigating. Town of Blackstone has been working through their neighborhoods with blighted homes. Had a quick conversation with Mr. Vanderbeck today. A lot of those homes are gone into multiple people estates. People have left here and the kids didn't come back. And so you end up with this house that's just slowly falling down.
Right.
Creates places for people to hide and do things, animals, critters.
Right.
So those two are just really investigating, and then we'll bring something back to that. The other one's gonna be the capital improvement, which we've got projects on that, so
Yeah.
we're just gonna
Right.
try to figure.
So we just felt like it was a good time to kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, what do we call it again?
It would be a ordinance committee.
I make a motion to appoint John Rourke and Bill Collins to the ordinance committee.
I'll second that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all for that. And next would be the consent agenda. That's in your board package. If there's any questions or concerns, if not, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Could you define consent agenda for me? So this is money that.
Just all the stuff that's
this is
been
things that have
paid.
been spent
Yes.
and paid, and
Yes.
it was under the limit that the board is required to approve individually, correct?
Yes, it basically is the month-to-month functions on these items here, and you're given the consent to approve or what has been done, you're agreeing to what's been
So we're
done.
agreeing after the fact.
And it's a
Pretty much,
list of
yeah.
list of items here, right?
I looked through all of it.
Right.
this
Assuming
afternoon.
all this was following procurement and contracts
Yes.
and all that.
Yes.
This is just basically the monthly bill sheet for these
Summary of what's been
services.
done.
That's correct. And
I made a motion.
Mr. Ingram has put a motion on the floor. Do we
I'll
have?
second it.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And of course, you have your correspondence items and some information items in there in your board package as well. If y'all don't have any questions or concerns about any of that, we will move on to the administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, board members, so we had a leak on the circuit court and during a trial, and over the holidays, that was, we think was repaired. The last rain wasn't as hard as that rain that caused it to leak on the jury box. There's some, talking to the contractors, there's some discrepancy, we're not real sure, is the slate on these roofs, are they deteriorating, or they are just loosening? Evidently, it's a screw that holds them things on, and then they overlap each other. I really, to get a true statement of what do we need to do with these roofs up here at the complex, I'm not gonna send a contractor to tell me whether it needs to be replaced or not. I need to find somebody that understands slate and how it works and the years at it. So I'm gonna take a look at maybe getting someone to give me a price on that. You gotta get a lift to get up there. But anyhow, so going with that, the plan is to start, I got meetings with some of the staff. I'm planning to restructure the maintenance department. In other words, I know we got Shane down at LRA, and then we got Matt here, and if we're gonna make some improvements to the complex, I gotta have somebody really watching those projects with me, so, and adding some responsibility, but I haven't got there yet. I'm having some meetings with them tomorrow, some conversations. as I mentioned a little while ago, the auditors are here this week. They've been here for 3 days. There's some concerns, and I'm speaking out of turn to tell you, do I know all the solutions yet? But you know, when auditors come, you start digging, then you find things, okay?
Yeah.
So, but as soon as I know something, I will report that to the board. I don't like to tell people I think I know. Something else is coming down the pike. It's a requirement by the state that you have to have an ADA coordinator. I think the school has been going through that right now. I've talked to Mr. Bowles as a billing official. He's willing to take on that role. I'm going to ask him to come to a work session to kind of explain how that is. And the reason I'm bringing that in is once we approve him as this ADA coordinator, what he does is he has to go and do a self-assessment, and then you have to do a transition plan. That's what he calls it. And so I'm hoping that we can tie that into the improvements we're making to the courthouse, if that makes sense.
It does.
Do you have to get a certification, or does he?
Well, I think first you're going to appoint the board, and yes, it is classes. There are classes of that.
So he can educate himself
right,
to.
Right, yeah. And he is willing to do that. And so once I get some more information, that will be tied into a work session as well coming up. You know, I don't know when, but we need to do that pretty soon. Let me say this. When he told me today, he said, well, look, Steve, it's like, you make, I think he said the requirement is 50 employees. He said, do we have 50 employees? And I said, well, no, I don't think here. But he said, but do we have the general public coming here? I said, well, yeah, hundreds. And so I think it'll be the best interest of the board to protect ourselves, to make sure we follow this guideline, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we had a blight situation. You know, you're talking about, I don't know, Mr. Zodi, he really scooted out, didn't he? He told the sheriff he went to the restroom. So, you know, you mentioned blight, and out in the country, I call it, our agriculture district. We had a blight situation, and John and I went out there and looked at it, and it can cause, like if you got blight tires, and I won't give any names of places yet, but if that's all laying out in your yard, and then this big rain comes, and then it goes into a gully, then it goes across somebody else's property, that is a problem, and which could cause the health and safety and the welfare of the citizens, and that's our responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. So that's some of the things that I agree with you. We need. I'm glad you formed that committee. You don't want to pick on the landowners, but what's right is right.
Well, you're making contact.
That's right.
Hey, what's
so
property?
Yeah.
If you ask me what the elephant is on the table, it's finance. Okay, and just like you just mentioned, you know, with the loggers, 15,000. You heard Ms. Hudson say 15,000 with the boundary line. That Prince Edward is claiming that for the citizens who live in Nottoway, who've been paying taxes in Nottoway, now they're going to actually move the boundary line, and then they got to pay taxes. 15,000. That's 30,000. That's a roof. I just want to tell you that.
Yeah,
you know.
that's
So
right.
okay, all right. So what I recommend, and I called the budget committee, which is I talked to Ms. Norton about it first because I know she had a lot of experience in that. I met with the finance committee. I met with Davenport. Davenport recommends this as well. I would like to take the budget committee. In the past, the budget committee would say, okay, let's form a budget. We're going to meet every week, and then we're going to form a budget, and then after the budget is approved, they're done, okay? I recommend that we do a finance committee, and the finance committee would consist of the county administrator, the finance director, the treasurer, and 2 board members. And we have weekly meetings to see, you know, where are these one-time revenues at? Where are these reoccurring revenues? Restricted funds, unrestricted funds. We need to know that. Like the ARPA money, that's restricted. Okay, you just can't spend it, and you can't go in and say, and people look at it and go, well, the county's got plenty of money, but it's restricted. The landfill money is restricted. Right. And here's an example, just a prime example, and we're not there yet, but we're looking at these. So. When we get money from the tobacco money, you know, that comes in, okay, all right, that's restricted for a project, okay, and let's say the company, we agree, we get this money, we start this company, okay, they get started, but they got the tobacco money agreed, well, you got this money, but you have to hire 18 employees. If that company only hires 14 employees, we got to foot the bill. Or you make an agreement with the company before you get the tobacco money, and you say, if this happens, you're going to foot the bill, okay? Well, during this process, what we're learning is, and it's restricted funds, Ms. Norton, so what we found in this process is there's one company who did not do what they asked. They gave us $15,000. I'm just using that number. That's not exact, okay? But we didn't give the money to the tobacco company. Tobacco commission. Okay. So, but we're looking to see, maybe we did, maybe we don't. But my point of it is, it won't be any maybes anymore. I think the term I heard before from a person that I got a lot of respect for, it's like you playing this shell game and we ain't sure where the money's at. But this finance committee.
Oh, you talking about KK?
I didn't say that. But what you're saying is, it's no thinking. You know where the money is. You know if you need the $15,000. You know if you lose that revenue.
That sort of comes into play what you was talking about capital expenditures, having a committee on capital expenditures.
We don't have any idea
Right.
right now, and so this is it's a baby step, but it's an important step.
Right.
Everybody start looking. Get everybody in the room, treasurer, finance director.
Commissioner of Revenue as well.
Commissioner of Revenue's gonna be
right.
there.
And you can call anybody else when you want to.
And you thinking about doing that on a weekly basis?
So, out the gate, okay? And that's what we need to do. You get out of the weekly, and then you go monthly, then you go every other month, once you get things moving. But until we all just up here know what we have, what's restricted, what's not restricted, you know, that's what we really need to know. It's easy to say we got $15 million, but $8 million you can't spend.
Right.
Because it's going through the landfill.
Right.
Well, and I talked to John earlier today, and I was like, well, should we do this or do that? And he said, no, we have to go right back to where we were last month, Bill. We don't know. So we cannot, until we know our finances, and the county's.
Falls back to that
county
balance sheet.
The citizens just have to
Or somewhat
understand
to speak.
that maybe it looks like we're not doing anything, but we've got to get a hand on our finances.
Prior practice was they only met during budget time when we were creating a budget. And then once it was approved, they dropped it. And in our conversations, mine with Mr. Bowen, is that we form a finance committee. We have written guidelines that later are approved by the board, and we will meet variable times year-round. It may be at first every week and then every month.
Do you want to
That
have
way
do
we
we need
can.
to do a motion to? Membership?
Yeah, I would like to, what I'm asking you to do, is pretty much is, and I know y'all had your work session, you arranged the board, but I say, we don't need a budget committee, we need to
Do the finance committee.
yeah, we need a finance committee. I like to amend that to that. And I agree with what Ms. Norton is saying. I gotta have weekly, if I'm gonna get you a budget that you can make good, sound decisions.
It'll be a lot of work up front
Right.
to fine tune it, but then we'll get it in place.
Once it's going.
That we'll have a mechanism we could go to that all three players in the
Nobody else is
game will
allowed
work
to leave.
together.
Everybody has to stay.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. No, and I think it's you know what we need to be, what needs really to be great about this is that your treasurer, your finance the finance director for the administration office, and Christie, Commissioner of Revenue, everybody's on first name basis. It's not like I don't know what they're doing over there. No,
This has never been done before.
Right.
And we need to start that open line of communication.
And start it now.
Yes.
Right. And I think it'll be good transparency, and we'll take minutes of that meeting.
All right, so Ms. Norton and I believe Dickie was on the budget committee.
That's the end of my report, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought that's it. That was the one.
Okay, all right.
I was going to ask him one thing.
Okay.
Remember now, when you start doing stuff around the courthouse is on the National Register of Historic Places. So you got to be careful about what you do.
Well, and I already stepped in that, Mr. Ingram, because I thought, tin roof could really be cheaper. But I think slate is part of the historical.
I think that's part of it. You got to be careful what you do because that thing is.
Right.
You got to go by their guidelines.
Right.
But we have got to respond to Judge Keefe's. When you bring in safety, there's a problem.
Right.
And I talked to the sheriff, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And we just need to try to make improvements.
How about the cylinder in the elevator? Was it fixed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, have you heard anything, Sheriff, anyone else about that? No, okay. No news is good news up here. I done found that out. And when it's bad news, they coming to you.
All right, so
So we're all over the park. We need to get a motion on the floor.
Yes,
Can I do that, sir?
yes, what we need to do is actually
Change the name?
remove or either change the name of the
Yes.
committee. Remove and then make another motion for another finance committee, or either just amend the name of the budget committee.
And I need to be, just clear, I tried once and we just didn't ever connect, and I apologize because it's hard being interim, and I've been sick here lately, but I have not talked to the treasurer yet, and I've not really talked to Christie about this, but I don't see where they'll have a problem with it, I'm sure.
They should.
Okay, but
I
anyway.
actually reached out after you
Did you?
talked to me,
Did
and they're
you?
fine.
Okay, well, that's
They're
fine. Thank you, Ms. Norton.
So are we gonna, in the same motion that she's about to make, are we gonna name anybody to be on the committee? Or is it
Well,
gonna be
that's what I was
open
going to ask.
Should, yes,
So are you willing to stay on?
yes.
Dickie, is that too much? Okay, all right, so the same two that were on the budget
So
committee would,
we're just amending the name of the committee.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah, I need to
So
make
it'll
a motion
be Mr. Ingram and myself.
right.
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we change the name of the Budget Committee to read Finance Committee. We will have written guidelines to be approved by the board, meeting at variable times year-round, and that committee will include the county administrator, the finance director, the treasurer, the commissioner of revenue, and 2 board members, and those 2 board members currently will be Mr. Ingram and myself.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's done. All
So
right.
you had to drop off the old name? if
No,
you didn't do it
she
amended?
said she was going to change the name.
Okay, in the same.
Yeah. All right, so thank you for your report.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bowen, and greatly appreciate all the work you've put in with everything that was going on, all these moving parts, and with the weather situations and everything that we had this week, like I stated earlier with Mr. Hyde, and of course, emergency services. We'll move on to comments from the board members. Mr. Collins, do you have anything, sir?
Well, I learned something yesterday, and that's that Piedmont Regional Jail, I went over and went to my first board meeting. I did a tour of the jail with the superintendent. And right now, Nottoway County sends $2 million to Nottoway, to the regional jail on behalf of our citizens that are incarcerated. I didn't know that.
I knew it was a bunch, I didn't know it was that much.
Prince Edward is right behind us at about 1.9. So there's a fact for the new board members. $2 million.
$2 million.
To me. All right.
And all the citizens say, lock them up.
Now they know.
That's right.
That's fine.
Did you think of me any while you was up there?
I did.
Thank you, sir.
They had your initials.
I really wanted to be on there, but I just couldn't make it.
Oh, my God. Mr. Ingram, do you have anything, sir?
Oh, me. Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Bowen for his hard work, and Mr. Hyde also during the weather crisis we had. I noticed one road closure has made my trip to work, and somebody had put a picture of Barton's Bridge, which is in my district, and I can remember as a young man that thing being covered. VDOT had upgraded it, it still went over it. So the rain we had made that happen, but I appreciate all the work that's been going on with the emergency services, and the cooperation I see between the towns is really great.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Ms. Norton, do you have anything?
First and foremost, I'm grateful to serve the citizens of District 3 and to serve on this board collectively. I believe that this comment portion of the meeting is very important to have an open line of communication with all of our citizens. They deserve that. I plan to be very transparent in my leadership. I plan to host informational citizen town halls every 3 months and try that out for about a year. That's what I heard on the campaign trail. They wanted to be informed, so we're going to try that and see if that works. I ask for your prayers as we continue this journey. And I would like to inform you that I have taken Mr. Vaughn's advice, and he told us to educate. I have finished my FOIA training this week. I also reviewed a newly elected supervisor class offered by Sands Anderson in FOIA, COIA, Land Use, and Capital Finance. And I have signed up for the VACO Certified Supervisor course on January 24th. That starts, I believe Mr. Bowen was a certified supervisor, and that starts with classes on finance that will prepare me for government finance work with these gentlemen on the budget. I look forward to conquering a lot of challenges ahead, and to quote Mr. Collins, he always says, we got to eat that elephant one bite at a time. So, thank y'all.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Norton, and I was sitting there thinking, you got a lot of education you
Well, I was looking to
dabbing
see
into.
that
That's-
stuff right there. I didn't know what the hell that was.
That's nothing. I took 48 classes in the last 24 months at DMA. It's all good.
Wow.
How do you got time to fix your hair up nice as it is now?
Oh, multitasking, learn.
Oh,
Mr. Toe.
Well, I'd say I'm really honored to represent the citizens of my district in Nottoway County. I always say my district, but our county. I'm always for sure to say that. I'm honored to be up here. I'm just as honored to live in a free country. And I look forward to working with the guys to make Nottoway as pleasurable as it has been. The EMS and law enforcement and fire department, buddy with the emergency. We've really had a mild winter thus far. That rain did cause some havoc, no doubt about it, but thank God it won't about 12 or 14 inches of snow. It could have been a whole lot worse. Winter's not over with yet. So, but having said that, I'm very appreciative for each member that I serve up here with, including the administrator. I'm excited about his new position. Sorry that he had to wear a mask. His wife's orders, because he had a cold. But anyhow, thank y'all, and look forward to serving you in the future.
All right,
And
thank you.
looking at your notes, I can learn something too.
All right, board members, I just want to thank you all for all the work, the energy that y'all are bringing. It's nice. It's like having a whole bunch of spark plugs firing the same engine, and yeah, I got that from you, brother. So it's really nice to see that. Everybody wants to serve, everybody wants to be on the committee, everybody is just ready to roll. I mean, the enthusiasm is great, but we also understand where our roadblocks are, where our roles are, and it's great. I want to clear something up. I had a Facebook Live a few weeks back, and as I had talked to you all, I was considering my future with Nottoway County, and after speaking with my wife, board members, and the public, you got me for 4 years. So I appreciate all, and I mean overwhelming number of phone calls and the support from you all sitting right up here right now. And y'all made the decision easy. That I know I don't feel like at times in the past where I may have felt like I was alone, y'all have made this a family now. And I got I got to tell y'all this, y'all may not know this one. Steve brought a lot of spiritual part back into my life. And at a time when I needed, man gave me a book, Billy Graham. And I read that book every day. And he told me, he said, no, we need to challenge each other, make sure we kept up on it. And we did. We would ask each other, hey, how many days are you behind? I ain't behind. He goes, man, I might be a day behind. I was like, man, I was a day behind. So, but we kept up with it, and I finished that book, and it was good for me. It had me start off something every day with something positive. And when someone gives you something like that, it means something. Whether you agree, disagree.
Well, they care about you to do it.
That's right. And it shows a lot about a person's character, and he knew I needed it. He knew he didn't have to do it, but he did it. That's a good man right there. And I'm okay with any of the negative comments that may come, but that's a good man right there.
Spiritual growth is a lot, but I will say this. In your Billy Graham thing, you said we got you for 4 years. Keep reading that Billy Graham thing, because the rest of the night ain't promised to nail one of us.
I got you, bro. I got you.
I'm serious.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
got
glad to have you for 4 years, John. I hope you are here.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. You got
That was-
anything?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Anybody?
I commend Steve for giving you that billogram thing too.
Yes, sir.
Because we're all alone at times, and we
That's right.
all need to seek some greater power. I can't say exactly what I want to say in the public forum, but some greater power.
That's right. I hear you, my friend. Well, board members, if there's nothing else to bring forward, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor signify by standing up.
What day?